on. Okay, it is live. Okay, it's working. It's working. The advert, I can tell because it's trying to sell me Gears of War.
I don't know. I don't see any of that.
Good luck, Twitch. Good luck selling me that game.
Therefore, the stream has started, that's good.
I think I remember. I saw someone playing like Gears of War 2 or 3. I remember there was like a big like panic over one because you got a golden like chainsaw gun if you pre-ordered at GameStop. So it was like a big deal, and I saw the gameplay, and I was like, "Why did you ever buy this game? Gears of War is stupid."
It's like Halo, but not.
It's like a over-the-shoulder third person. Like it's just gross. Halo is a good shooter. Has to be FPS.
4 days early. Oh, there we go.
Is it live? Do I?
It is. It is live. Yeah, you're good. Just refresh, and you should be able to see. You should be able to see. I mean, whatever your image is with the duck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, it's good image.
I understand the dragon, but why is there the duck there?
Well, you see, that's part of it. It's part of the experience.
Okay.
Is your new YouTube name Dragon Ducks?
No.
Ducks Dragon? No. Mallard Dragon?
My new YouTube name is Split Game Modes Balance.
I think that's a good way to kind of segue into something actually to do with something, and that is that ArenaNet have decided that World versus World is more important than PvE.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. See, like, Boots is going to try and defend this. But
I'm not defending anything. I'm not defending anything. If they do not split it in any way, shape, or form, that's not a good idea. But the post didn't mention splitting. It's true, but that doesn't mean they're not going to do it.
So I guess we should start with the post, which I think was a mistake on their part.
No, I'm going to go further back. I think this whole entire thought process that they've got in their head is a mistake on their part.
All right.
Okay. Who would like to start?
Inks go.
So they put a post up, which is nice. I like it when they actually talk to us and tell us stuff. But they put a post up, and they said the reason for the post was they wanted players to be able to prepare their armor and so forth beforehand. But then they don't give us enough detail or specifics to actually properly prepare your armor and so forth. Is that really
the reason they said that as the reason they put the post up?
That's what it says.
Okay.
Wow. So then they give us 3 bullet points as to what's changing, and there was a leak a long while ago about the Signet of Inspiration stuff. But and then that's kind of it. Now, if you were going to split these skills, shouldn't you probably tell players that in this post? If you're going to split it, you probably should. You should probably give like full disclosure of details on the actual changes if your intent is for players to make an intelligent decision about which armors to choose. Simply giving us these vague bullet points is kind of silly and is just going to cause an uproar. Now, granted, when players see the patch notes, there's going to be an uproar anyway. So this is like prepping yourself for the rage and the riot that's about to come. But then you don't give enough details, so then the riot / speculation gets even worse than it probably would have been anyway. So the post, in my mind, seems kind of like a mistake and probably not the best decision ever when you're trying to communicate such delicate information.
Yeah.
You see, there are 2 avenues here. You've got the well, we've already got it, guys. We got to go ahead and do it. It's too late now. Everybody's pissed, but we got to go. Or you've got the, hey, this is a great PR opportunity. Look how outraged the community is. We can just say we saw that people were mad, and now we're gonna revert it.
Yeah, you can do that.
So,
or you could just ArenaNet.
Or you could just split it and say we were going to split it the entire time. We just didn't mention it. But
that's incorrect.
Yeah,
like
it is incorrect.
It's a mess.
I think I would really like it if they did that because that's really troll to me. It's just everyone's getting upset. Yeah. I mean, across the community, we have people announcing the death of Revenant. the death of any class that isn't an elementalist, a mesmer, a druid, or a warrior, and then they go, "Ha, it was just a prank, bro. It was just a prank."
But it's not necessarily a prank. Just they didn't mention a lot of things in that post. So if they didn't mention skill splitting on top of that, it's a possibility that they just left it out for whatever reason. And the fact that everybody's going crazy over this post, and if they come out and say, "Oh yeah, we were going to skill flip the entire time," you guys just went crazy, it would be kind of funny.
Yeah,
it would be pretty funny.
I think.
Yeah, I think that instead of having Gail Gray deliver the blog post, it should probably be like the head of the balance team who can actually like articulately demonstrate their logic and thought process behind it. Because, maybe they could make a convincing argument that would actually make people go, you know what? They're right. I think that is a good idea for the future of the game. But instead it's Gail Gray giving basically no information.
Originally the PvP guy or not the PvP guy, but the balance guy sending out bullet points to Gail Gray, and then, but yeah, it would be better. It would be better if it was him the entire way or her the entire way.
Or do an AMA instead, where people can kind of pick their brain. That would help too.
Yeah, big time.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now that they have actually announced this, it seems very likely that it's gonna go through to a certain
And
extent.
not be split.
Well, we have no reason to believe that it will be. And I don't know. If I was going to try and be charitable, I would say that the problem they're trying to get rid of here is that the entire PvE meta is basically designed around having quickness on everyone at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as much as possible, right? And they're trying to say, well, we need to these chronomancers. This is too much. We need to deal with this. It's gone too far. It's one profession is just doing way too much for the group. But I don't know, how could they... It seems very unusual that they wouldn't realize that it's just going to mean you take more mesmers to do the same job, because having quickness and alacrity is really, really good.
No, you see, there's like they live in an alternate reality over at ArenaNet, where like they do things in-house, and it has nothing to do with what people do out in the game, I think. Like, I don't think they have people, like, going hardcore and just obliterating raids over there. I think the environment is, like, probably pretty laid back, and they just go in and, like, maybe kill Veil Guardian and then high-five and call it a day. And, like, you can kind of do that with, like... I don't know. This is, of course, speculation on my end, and I'm trying not to go
really, Brazil?
full-blown hateful, cynical yet, because that, I don't know, that's a dangerous place to get.
There's
But,
a great,
like,
there's a
I
great
don't
clip of you
understand.
reacting to when you found out that the signet change is going through.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, look.
Like,
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
the problem that I have with all of this, more than anything, I am assuming that Signet of Inspiration is either nerfed to sharing 6 seconds of quickness
6 seconds.
or something similar, because 6 seconds was leaked long ago. It's going to be some amount that makes it bad, is what my anticipation is. So what we've done now is you're forcing a whole lot of things here. Also with the Druid healing power change and with the Revenant passive nature change. So Druid is forced into basically a singular build. You have to take healing power gear. So I don't think you're going to be able to play Berserker or Viper Druid and do damage, like focus on damage and still heal with Avatar. I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Probably.
Yeah,
And-
from leaks that I've heard is that even a full Zealot Druid will feel a nerf. Like, you have to be main stat healing power just to break even with where we are now.
And
Really?
like
Yeah,
that,
Oh
not
my
even
God.
Zealot. That just makes Zealot even
Yeah,
worse.
yeah.
Because, like, what's the point if it doesn't heal?
Oh
that's
my
an
goodness.
absolute disaster. Like that's just eliminating 3 builds. They've just taken an axe and they got a warrior to come in with the PvP axe 5 years
Decapitate it, you know?
ago. So like you've cut off 3 builds from Druid. It can only play 1 build now, unless there's like some weird shaman condition damage build or something, which there's
At least
not.
you-
looked at,
At least you won't be tempted to make medium armor for your legendary set anymore,
Correct.
Druid.
And then like So there's that. There's Revenant, which I mean, I anticipate it's probably going to be 20%. Teapot thinks it's going to be 35, but Facet of Nature is going to it's just going to get wrecked, I think.
33 maybe.
33 maybe, yeah.
And whenever you've got a quickness change that's this significant, then if you can only share 6 seconds, then you don't even why? Why
would the
would
6 seconds be doubled, or is it not going to be doubled with?
It's just going to be a cap.
Okay.
And so that's a big deal. And so what this is forcing is you eliminate the Revenant and you put in 2 Mesmers. And at the same time with Mesmers, you are forcing Mesmers into less builds than they already have. You can't play condition damage Mesmer at all. It's impossible because it doesn't give alacrity. And alacrity and quickness are going to be kind of important now because I mean, you're going to have less quickness. You have to take 2 Mesmers, whatever. So
you'll have full alacrity for the full...
Yes. Condi Mesmer, there's just no chance. It has no hope. I'm curious as to what this is going to be like because maybe you don't take Minstrel's Mesmer. I've worked out a few setups and I can keep almost permanent uptime on quickness without Signet of Inspiration. And then you can make some trades and put in Signet of Inspiration, and it's pretty decent. But does this get rid of the build that I like to play, and does this just force it into a Berserker's gear with the sigil and all kinds of other stuff to make up the boon duration? I think that's very possible. And then all while this is happening, Thief doesn't benefit from alacrity at all. It only benefits from quickness. So I feel like that's probably forcing Thief out a little bit, and Guardian has the quickness shout. Elementalist benefits very greatly from alacrity. So I think you're kind of forcing those into DPS roles. So you pretty much got a predetermined this composition does raids and everything else is bye-bye. I don't know.
I think we will... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think even with Ellie having perma alacrity, Thief is still competitive in terms of DPS. It's probably actually still better on small hitbox, but the problem is all the things like Wash the Pain Away and Ice Bow and stuff become just way better with alacrity. Yeah. So it just helps. The utility gap widens, if not the DPS.
Okay, so this is originally being done, or we're assuming, because of World versus World, right?
Yes.
Blobs can stack because of the Signet of Inspiration, can stack ridiculous amount of quickness and resistance.
Let me explain to you how World versus World works, okay?
Oh boy, here we go.
Do you even go on World versus World?
I've spoken to experts. My understanding is that PvP, whatever balance they have, they at least have gear and sigils and runes that they can remove when they become a problem. So we saw this interesting bunker mesmer thing whenever, a while back that was a disaster. And we had these things called durability runes, etc., etc. So suddenly we remember that World versus World is still a game mode that people play. And we think about how World vs. World has Sentinel's gear. World vs. World has Soldier's gear. World vs. World has Nomad's gear. World vs. World has Minstrel's gear. World vs. World has durability runes. And so you can just stack up 3 Minstrel's Chronomancers that run around with 100% boon duration. You have a Zerg full of Nomad's durability runes, whatevers. They're just spamming out AoE resistance, you have protection, and the Mesmers make quickness, and they bounce the Signet of Inspirations off of each other. So you're just putting every single boon in the game plus alacrity on a whole entire Zerg until people decide, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and we've had this Zerg fight going on for the past 12 hours. Maybe let's go to bed. Mm-hmm. So that, I assume, is why they've looked at making this change, which interestingly enough, when you think about it, I don't think World versus World and PvE are the same game mode, even though for some reason they use the same gear and stats and whatever. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, ArenaNet's goal is to reduce that divide, though, as much as possible. Whether it's actually possible is another matter entirely, right? Because they don't want to confuse players. Okay, you know, I'm having a great time on my minstrel chrono in PvE. Go into World versus World. What? My signet? It's broken. So I think there is some validity to that, but it really depends how brutally they're gonna gut the Mesmer in PvE as collateral damage here. Just remove World versus World, problem solved. I mean, that can work, but I don't know. It really depends how the changes will happen. I think if the signet if the cap on the signet is affected by boon duration, then that's a bit better, because that means, you know, the leak number is 6 seconds. So if you get it to 100% duration, you can have 12 seconds. So that's not as bad, right? You can still get some work done there. And they also talk about in the post how they're considering buffing base duration. So that may, I don't know, that wasn't in the same sentence as Mesmer, but it could be that they're going to increase the well's effectiveness or something like that. The well of action, rather. So you might get some more quickness duration there, and that could help with the overall uptime. So they have indicated they're looking to mitigate this a little bit to make it not as bad, and they did that with. And they also said each shared boon, a fixed duration. Now the wording here is a little bit vague, but come on, me and Boots. I know I'm thinking the same thing as Boots here. We're going to be optimistic here, and then Brazil can just demolish it. This could mean that they will have a different duration for each boon. So the kind of really abusive stuff that you see, well, that I've been told you see in World vs. World is, you know, people running around with just permanent resistance, permanent every boon in the game stacked up for about 3 minutes. So perhaps if maybe quickness isn't so much of a problem in World versus World, they just say, well, you know, quickness, you're good to go. But resistance, no, not allowed, naughty, don't do that.
1 second only.
Yeah, 1 second of resistance. That would be really funny. Yeah. But I think that could be an approach they may take here, thus saving Minstrel Chrono from oblivion.
Yeah. So the important thing is, if they make this change for World versus World, will it fix the problem that World versus World was having with Inspiration Signet? Number one. Yes, no.
Definitely maybe.
Definitely maybe. Perfect. Now moving on to PvE. If they don't split it, and it is, like Teapot and I are thinking, different durations, what duration would make the meta in raids still possible with
35.
35 seconds is a bit much. That's probably not what it's going to end up being. What's the minimum it could be?
Probably base 12 seconds, so double the 24 with 100% boon duration.
Okay.
That would probably make it one Mesmer still.
Yeah, because there is currently there is some tolerance to executing the Chronomancer rotation correctly. So there is a little bit of give they have to play with there. But if I think if they're not going to do some kind of weird thing where quickness it acts differently, I think it will be reduced maybe more. But then again, 12 seconds. But then again, it doesn't matter because you have the boon duration in World vs. World as well. Everyone's running around with a bunch of Revenants and the Sigil and stuff. So I don't know. I think it seems likely to be less than that. What do you guys think about that?
I think that if they don't separate the game modes, which they absolutely should, especially for Revenant, because Revenant is a problem everywhere but PvE. So how exactly are you going to compensate for the nerf and basically removal from raids and PvE without drastically making them overpowered in structured PvP, which there's already complaints about, and then World vs. World, which there's already complaints about. So they're going to have to reduce Signet of Inspiration to the point where you have to take more than one Mesmer in order to share it out for World vs. World. That's kind of the point, right? It's overpowered to the point now that even if you give it the base minimum of, let's say, we're guessing 12 seconds, that still doesn't solve the problem. So it needs to be lower than that. They need to separate it, and they didn't say they're going to separate it, which really worries the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm. So let's say they're not separating it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
So there's like a point about this that I've been thinking about for the last couple of days. So you can holistically solve it by buffing the boon counterplay skills like Null Field, Well of Corruption, and stuff. Those aren't going to be played in PvP or PvE. Those are exclusively World v World skills. So you can buff them as however strong as you need them to be, and it's not going to affect PvP or PvE. So why not buff those first really hard and then see if that solves the problem? And if it doesn't solve the problem, then you can do other stuff. But why not at least try to solve it without a blunt force nerf to something that will affect other game modes?
I want a boon removal trap in World versus World.
There you go.
The siege you can make. I mean, that's definitely an option, right? Or even boon corrupt. So if the Zerg runs onto the trap, they just instantly die.
See, no, there's a better solution to all of this. I'm gonna be honest, and this is the correct solution. So what's the real problem here? Real problem is Zerg fights, yeah? Because this is where all
I don't
this is
know
where
where
it all
you're
goes on. No, it's good. You do know where I'm going to.
All right, go ahead.
So when you have just blobs hitting each other that just have every single boon on every player for 10 minutes, fighting on the ground, that's where the problem comes from. So you introduce gliding and fall damage traits. You add a new sort of combat into World versus World, and then that takes the problem away. Easy.
That'd be cool.
So instead of just Zergs hitting into each other for hours, you have a Zerg running around, and then you stealth glide, just drop on top of them with fall damage trait builds.
I would love that. Yeah.
Easy.
Well, like, remember when Boon Thieves became really big in Fractals? That, like, when they changed that to where basically every high-level Fractal had Boon Thieves? That drove Mesmers out of the PvE meta for Fractals because Boon removal was really, really powerful. Mm-hmm. So you just have to make it that level of power in World v World, and it will drive them out of the meta the same exact way because they can't reapply them fast enough to replace the ones that are getting ripped. I mean, that we already have evidence that works in PvE, so why not try that in World v World if that's the problem?
I think, that's a pretty good idea, actually. I like that a lot. It's very good. Mm-hmm. You should work with these people, I think. Maybe we wouldn't be in this predicament.
I wonder, actually.
I kind of wonder how it will scale, though.
Has anybody done the calculation, though, like, already? If it's 6 seconds, knowing how much quickness you can put out as Mesmer with that limitation, and whether or not it is better to bring a second Mesmer instead of another Elementalist, DPS-wise?
I think I saw somewhere on the subreddit that for permanent quickness, you need something like a little bit, like nearly 9 seconds base duration on the Signet.
Okay, so let's say you don't give permanent quickness to your group.
You don't do that with one Mesmer.
I know. So you won't do that with one Mesmer. Would that... Because if you bring 2 Mesmers, you'll be getting far too much quickness. You'll be getting... No. Yeah, you'd be having more than enough quickness with 2 Mesmers. No?
No.
Why not?
Because there's always going to be... People are always going to be positioned incorrectly. And what it's looking like is that being forced into chaos on Mesmer and having to take Mimic instead of Signet of Inspiration is probably going to be a thing. Maybe you drop Well of Recall and take Signet of Inspiration so you can Mimic Well of Action. You know, you can get 4 Well of Actions off, and then you can also get Signet of Inspiration twice, potentially. That could be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, realistically, you're not going to be able to play the Inspiration line at all. You're not going to have the Signet of Inspiration cast on whenever you cast a Phantasm. because there's not enough quickness to generate that makes it worth it. So, like, you get into this really weird position where, like, actual positioning becomes a thing. Like, people need to stand in your wells. People
That doesn't sound
need
so
to,
bad.
like... Okay, have you ever raided with salt before, where there are people
No,
just
good
out in
point.
the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
Or have you ever, like, watched a Pug Mesmer streamer video where, like, they kind of just press buttons and nothing happens and, like, they don't really do anything? Like, the thing about Signet of Inspiration is that, like, you can run through a group of people while casting it and it, like, distributes better. Or, like, you could do stuff with it and you can catch people that weren't standing in your well with the signet still and give them quickness. Or you could cast down, like on the Gorse of All Spirits, for example. I would do this. Like, you can blow your quickness on top of one spirit, so like 7 or 6 people get it, and then run over to people holding the other 2 spirits and just SOI them and give them all the same boons. Like, it removes so much distribution that you're realistically, like, practically, you're not going to have it. Even doing that sort of rotation, it's not 100% uptime on quickness on the Mesmer because, well, the rune's different. Because you don't take chrono runes anymore. There's no point.
Yeah.
So it's just getting into, hey, there's one build, play this now. That's what ArenaNet says territory.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not good.
Mm.
It's very interesting. It's Teapot and I were, like, I showed him a video of a rotation I found. And it's, like, very scary how well this rotation just lines up and works out. It's, like, actually perfect. It's like the cooldowns on Mimic and Continuum Split are different, so that the actual cast on Mimic and finishing the rotation lines up perfectly with Continuum Split. They're not the exact cooldown, they're staggered by like 2 seconds. So it's like, I feel like someone in ArenaNet, like, was running like builds through a computer. They're like super machine, and they're just like, this is it. Everyone plays this now. So
That could have been coincidence, though. Mimic has been in the game for a while.
Yeah, it has.
Have you noticed that all the Venoms line up in cooldown too? Like, if you cast them all at the same time.
It's pretty crazy.
I know. It's weird. Okay, so let's say this goes off, and it is 6 seconds, and Mesmers can't give 100% quickness to everybody, and they can't even give it to 5 people. Well, they will be able to give it to 5 people, right?
Not permanent.
Not permanent for 5 people?
You have to take SOI, and then you lose alacrity if you do that.
But if,
so you're either
supposing that you have 2 Mesmers, though, you could. Well, yeah, no. I suppose if you're in a 5-man situation, you still have. If you just go for the permanent quickness, you can just use your shield dudes to give alacrity, because you're not dealing with 10 people with just 1 Mesmer.
Yeah, like you're trading either roughly 6 seconds of quickness for 7 seconds of alacrity. Like, you pick one of those 2 things. You either take Signet of Inspiration or Well of Recall. So, I don't know. There are benefits to each one. Like, Well of Recall has a delay. Signet of Inspiration is an instant cast. Like, there's just, I don't know. But
do you, with your shield phantasms, do you give permanent alacrity without the Well of Recall?
I don't think it will be.
Okay.
Because you're not always going to... Go ahead, Nike.
I was going to say, you probably won't want illusions. You'll probably want dominate. If you do Signet of Inspiration, you want domination instead of illusions for the Signet cooldown.
Yeah.
That would help probably a lot more.
Yeah.
Which will hurt the shield phantasms indirectly by losing IC or whatever.
Attack rate.
Yeah.
Or Phantasmal Haste.
Mm-hmm.
So you might need 3 then to keep up alacrity on the group of
3 Avengers will not keep up permanent alacrity.
Yeah. So either you have 1 Mesmer not doing enough for a full raid group. Doing all
one
they can.
Mesmer won't be anywhere near enough.
That's what I just said.
Not even contested. Yeah. So
either you have one Mesmer not doing enough for the full raid group, doing his best boon duration / alacrity rotation, or you have two Mesmers doing enough for the full raid group. But would they be able to start pulling back on the utility version and start doing a little more damage in that case?
yeah, you mean that extra 2k DPS? It's really worth it.
Well, if they are giving too much quickness and they are
Whatever
giving
else
too
they
much
buff it
alacrity to the group, why not?
Well,
They said
you
they did
see,
say damage would be buffed, but you know
that
we don't
doesn't
know by
even
how
that doesn't
much,
that
but
doesn't
it
make
doesn't.
sense to do. Like Mesmer damage is horrible.
Right. So they're
It's
going
always
to buff
been horrible.
it. Right. They're going to buff it. It's
Buffing
still
it,
going to be horrible.
buffing Mesmer's damage and reducing everyone else's damage, especially like this almost gives me PTSD. Like thinking about pug Mesmers, I will never pug again, ever, if these changes go through, because I'm just not going to deal with. Even if I just won't deal with it because you're going to have pug Mesmers just pressing wardens. They're not going to be on the right weapon. Like, they'll never give any quickness. Like, it's just going to be a disaster. And that's not coming from a place of arrogance. I'm not saying I'm the best Mesmer in the world and I always play correctly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, when we consider, happy Guild Wars 2 world where everybody does what they want, this is not a reality in which quickness and alacrity exist. So
I do what I want.
I don't know.
I play how I want. You're not going to tell me.
No. I think this is. I mean, it does seem that the way it's going to go is that they're basically going to be buffing raids. They're going to
They're buffing
we
raids.
saw,
exactly.
yeah, they're buffing raids.
They
raids
saw
are
the
too
3-man
easy.
Veil Guardian,
Yeah,
and they saw
no.
the 8-man full clear.
This has to stop.
Sure,
Yeah.
Well,
This
I mean,
needs to stop right
let's
now.
be fair. It's not sure it's going to change
no.
raids.
They're giving
because-
QT their hard mode after all.
Yeah. I mean, you'll still clear raids. It'll be slightly slower. And I think there's this weird perception out there with some people who look at probably a show or a podcast like this and says, oh, they're just bitching and complaining to bitch and complain. There's maybe somebody else can discuss it better than I can, but there's a very valid reason why this is a problem for raids. It's not just about doing less damage, but it's about how this is going to change general group composition as well. It's just not going to be as diverse or fun.
Well,
No,
if
it's
it forces you to take two Mesmers, that inherently makes it a one less slot for other things.
It forces you to take two Mesmers that play the same build.
Yeah.
Forces you to take two Druids that play the same build. Forces you to take two Warriors that probably play the same build because, let's be real here, Epidemic is probably getting nerfed too, so Necromancer won't exist. Revenant won't exist.
What build will the Rangers play now that the
Magi staff nonsense, just camp staff, and just heal.
It is possible. I mean, I'm sure organized groups will use at least one Berserker Ranger just because they won't necessarily need the crazy healing. Even if it just does a little bit of healing, that's probably good enough. But I would say one Magi is probably legit.
So
And
that
in
means that means 4 of the 10 spots now are taken up by, unless you do the one Berserker Ranger, 4 of the 10 spots are taken up by classes that don't do any damage really.
Well, limited damage, I guess.
Yeah.
Which means that the rest of the spots you're really going to want to fill with the best damage you can bring to the game, which doesn't include Revenant.
See, they've come full circle. We went from Guardian, 3 Warriors, and a Mesmer, and people arguing about how there's no support, there's no control, it's only damage, and now we're forced into support, control, and damage. That's what they've done. 4 years later, they've had their say, and here it comes, boys.
the Holy Trinity Guild Wars style.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Revenant spot got freed up to fill with another Mesmer, basically.
Yeah. Poor old Revenant. What a disaster.
Oh man.
I mean,
I just wanna play Minstrel's Chrono. I just wanna become the corner. That's all I wanna do.
I've had some people say to me, "No, Revenant won't be so bad because they still bring a lot to the table," and they do in theory. They do in theory, but
Wrong.
because of the overall group composition.
He is Trump.
Because
Oh,
of
you
the overall
didn't see
group
my
composition.
sticker, Boots?
No,
It's
I
going
didn't
to be
see.
pretty
It.
dope.
Oh
You didn't see
yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah.
A gift from your grandmother or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a real shame if they reduce the diversity in the way that it seems to be going. I think you could still run, I kind of along the line of what Nike was saying, is that maybe you could have one Minstrel Chrono, and then with the current build, because maybe if you have two of the new variant, maybe that's too much quickness. So maybe you have one Mesmer that puts out slightly less and does some other things as well, and you have another Mesmer that is more focused towards quickness. That might make it a bit better.
Well, you're still gonna have to have a tank, so
Yeah, but I
Like-
mean, tank
so
tank in
Minstrel-
raids just means +5 toughness infusion to a lot of groups.
The
Right.
way I said this to Brazil, but he doesn't agree with me, and probably rightly so. If this goes through, you'll have your Minstrel Chrono doing lots of quickness, lots of alacrity, and tanking. And then I was hoping maybe it'll leave you with ability to bring a Mesmer that's there, even though it's not very good damage, a DPS quickness Mesmer. And it could be good. It could work.
Maybe it could be Rise of the Condi Mesmer, because
That's what I'm saying.
With the no, I'm talking about base Mesmer, right?
Oh, base Mesmer.
No.
But you need
No.
quickness though, still a little bit.
Yeah, but you use it as kind of that you turn your Condi Mesmer into a Signet of Inspiration. See, because the
Doesn't
Condi
happen.
Mesmer.
You just need the Signet of Inspiration.
Yeah,
huh?
you take the Signet of Inspiration.
But it's so nerfed, though, man.
Condi Mesmer.
It's only
Yeah,
6 seconds now.
but you run only Condi Mesmers, and you have kind of a train of quickness running around. They just bounce it around, which is only Mesmers. Easy.
So let's talk a little bit about Revenant. I see a lot of chatter going on about are
it's
they worth
bad.
taking, are they not worth taking. So you can't, if they buff Revenant DPS, which would be pretty interesting, because if you buff the DPS of Revenant and you don't split it for structured PvP and you don't split it for World vs. World, that makes Revenant a bigger problem in both of those game modes already. On top of that, in structured PvP, they're still calling for a nerf to Precision Strike on Revenant because it does too much damage there. So if you buff the Revenant's DPS by what was the general figure, like 10% more damage, can you imagine 10% more damage on Revenant in World vs. World with Hammer and in structured PvP? I mean,
Yeah, no,
come
I
on.
can imagine in World vs. World. It just hits a little bit harder, and that's extra. That's the 2 extra ticks of healing Signet with your Nomad's gear. So
I just
Doesn't matter.
I can't see like 10% more damage in structured PvP is crazy. They would have to split it there, and ArenaNet hasn't showed a great willingness to do that. Now, as far as like the other buffs go, sure, boon duration is going to get nerfed to 33% or whatever that figure ends up being. But then you talk about bringing protection and ferocity and so forth, but that it can also be brought by other classes who are going to be there already anyway. Sure, the Revenant is great at doing that, but unless, like you said, they really up their DPS, their overall damage, it's just not going to happen. I just can't see it happening. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm completely wrong, and I'll continue to play my Revenant, and it'll be fantastic, but I don't know.
Revenant DPS just isn't good.
I think
Yeah.
you
I mean,
could
it's okay,
buff the
but-
auto on Revenant, and it'd be fine. And if you wanted to keep it from overpowering PvP, you just put all the buff into the third attack in the chain, since that's the hardest one to get off in PvP. So it would make it a little bit fair. Or you just don't even have it affect PvP. You just split skills. Oh my god.
Whoa.
Nike, don't even.
No,
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You must
yeah,
be
no.
an elitist or something because we can't have that. I'm
No,
sorry.
You're going to confuse the players if we talk like that. I don't think we want to go
Yeah,
there.
that sounds like some big guild market manipulation. Trying to get those force sigils, huh?
What do we currently have that split? Skill
Save
wise.
yourselves.
Lava font.
Axe 5 on Warrior is split. I think something on Mace on Warrior is split. Like 4, I think the 4 skill.
Is Confusion still split?
I don't know.
Didn't it get normalized?
Maybe.
Are they going to nerf Guardian loot staff due to Halloween? No, they'll probably just do diminishing returns in Halloween Labyrinth.
I want to see level 90 skeletons again. That was the best thing I've ever seen in this game. Just a ball of players just running around a corner, and there's just a level 90 skeleton lich, and it's just like, what is this scaling?
Yeah, I see a lot of comments about Revenant. I'm with you guys. I absolutely hope. And there is places in room where they could buff and stuff, but I'm just lacking faith right now that they'll do that and properly split it between the game modes.
No.
And then they have the problem of hitbox sizes, where no matter what you do to any class, Ellies are going to be preferred at big hitboxes. So even if Rev is optimal on small hitboxes, people will want Ellies for the big hitboxes, and then most groups will just say, well, we'll just have Ellies for the small hitboxes too. Fuck it.
Yeah, because of the toolkit that those bring along as well.
Please buff Condi Rev to 40k DPS.
I
Seems
don't-
good.
I don't think that's really too much of a problem, though, because I kind of like having different professions that are good at different things. And I don't think that... They can kind of nerf Ellie by just having bosses with small hitboxes to a certain extent. And creating fights in which it's... I don't know. What could you have... What kind of fight would it have to be that you would really want? You know what? We could do with some Revenants in this group. You know what we could do? We could do with some Revenants.
The boss has a break bar on its auto attack chain.
Oh my god! Wait, but the cooldown on Star 5 is pretty long.
Okay, well, its auto attack chain is pretty long. It's got 10 attacks in it, and the last one, it just CCs, it charges up a huge one. Easy, right? Fixed.
More bosses like Knuckles, where you need to break his bar quite a bit. Maybe a little bit more frequently than Knuckles, because his is pretty long.
Yeah, but I mean, why would you? We have pink mowers now. That's like a Revenant. And once again,
well,
Druid strikes again.
I don't know.
Have a pet Revenant that just screeches at something. And maybe something to do with you need a lot of resistance. I don't know. But then you can just cleanse stuff off. I think it's difficult.
Conti Rev doesn't really give that much resistance.
It did with Signet of Inspiration, but it won't do it after the patch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Revenant's just in a really weird, not so great place, unfortunately.
Maybe if
We'll
they
have to
buff
wait and see.
Mace.
And this is part of the problem with them releasing vague notes, right? It all comes down to speculation on, well, it's probably going to be this or it might be that, without actually knowing exactly how things are going to change, which is really weird when they're like, yeah, we're doing this so you can prepare your armor. Prepare for what exactly?
Yeah.
What am I preparing for? To delete my
so-
Revenant? Because I'm ready. I got the screen up. I'm ready to go.
Ink's last character is about to be deleted.
Yeah, my account will be empty. I'll have a key farmer.
Yeah.
Once a week.
What if they change Signet of Inspiration to not be affected by the Mesmer's boon duration to be doubled or whatever, but the boons applied on each individual member of the party is affected by their own boon duration?
Oh.
And that way the dragon, the Revenant, 50%,
You need it for the... Oh my
32%.
god.
That would work.
It's so crazy to think that Signet of Inspiration is going to affect a number of classes
So
in PvE.
I want to bring something up, and there was a Reddit post that had like 700 upvotes that wasn't about a corrupt ESL admin, and it was about stat efficiency and stat balance, and it brought up some really good points that I'm pretty sure Nike has mentioned this stuff before. I think I've heard you say it. This may have been back in the day, where the condition damage food gives 30% and it used to give 50% duration, and that is enormous. That's huge. That's that food is better than like anything else in the entire game for condition damage.
It's like 750 stat points or something.
It's like, yeah, it's like dumb. And then you've got like the platinum doubloons for boon duration that you can put into exotic commanders or minstrels gear and get like 7% per trinket. You've got like leadership runes, which are 30% boon duration. You've got like, well, there are a couple of other ones. I don't want to name them. But like you've got the sigil of concentration that gives like 33%. Then you've got givers stuff, and you've got expertise, and you have concentration, and those are new stats. And they didn't normalize any of the old stuff for whatever reason. Probably some excuse about we don't want to hurt the market. We don't want to make people mad that bought this stuff. Whatever. So like the stats are just a mess. And I think that thread was really good, and it raised a lot of really good points. So, like, with that being said, I want to pass it on to you guys to, like, get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, the stat thing is pretty insane. It's just kind of percentages in general, and when percentages get into Guild Wars 2, the stats just kind of start to go a little bit wrong because of how kind of ridiculous all the modifiers get, right? And all this stuff just stacking up like crazy. I think a really great example of this is like the healing food and healing power in general. I think where they're trying to go with this, especially with the druid changes, they're trying to make healing power better, right? But it turns out that healing power is trash right now, at least.
Right now, you mean since launch.
So, and they're gonna make the scaling's gonna be good, and they kind of did this when they did Wash the Pain Away, so that the healing is kind of the same now if you have healing power, which feels bad, man. But now they're going to do this with Druid, and I guess then healing power will be good, but why do they have to just demolish everything in order to make this the way it is? And just a lot of the foods are completely out of whack. The 4-stat gear is just kind of insane, inherently overpowered on its own. It just has more. It's more value, right, than the 3-stat equipment and stuff like that. It's just out of control. Now they're doing this. Try and fix that. I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of food, they could nerf seaweed salad this patch and just completely go crazy.
Please.
Come on, let's just stand still instead.
How perfect would that be since they just added a seaweed farm to the game with the last patch?
They're probably just studying Konami. See, here comes this overpowered deck that everyone needs. Everyone spends their money on it. Oh, nerf. Bye-bye.
It's like, yes, we finally have a seaweed farm, and now seaweed salad's cost will come down, but then they'll nerf it. And I get why a lot of people want it. It's kind of annoying to play with, right? And it's kind of really strong.
Yeah, It's considerably better than other foods for basically all professions. That we go with power damage anyway.
Damage modifiers are like. I'm sorry if I like cut you off. I'm not. I don't like you, Teapot. Sorry.
No.
It's just how it is.
Sorry, not
Damage
sorry.
modifiers are like, this is a big problem because Elementalist has like a modifier like in every single trait slot almost to a degree. It's like, okay, it's insane. Like Thief has a lot of damage modifiers, and you've got stuff like Power Necro, which hit some really big numbers, and they have like no damage modifiers at all. So, like, they will just never be competitive for doing damage. And, like, I kind of understand the logic behind that because Power Necro survives very well. Thief and Elementalists are made out of paper, so they get hit wrong, they're on their way to dying. So maybe it makes more sense. But then you throw it into like a dungeon or whatever, and you put a player who's like taking time to practice behind it all, and suddenly none of that matters. So then you just have a class that just like necessarily does more damage than the other class. And so like it gets kind of weird there because like I think this is something I looked at a long time ago, but I think like Warrior and Elementalist have like nearly 100% in terms of damage modification. At least I think that was the case, or maybe I'm just remembering wrong and it was something else. But like Necro has like 30% maybe. total maybe 40. It's like it's nuts, and like they've kind of started to add that with condition damage, but before, like you had like power builds were just always better than condition damage builds because they just did more damage. Like there was damage modification, there wasn't for condition damage, and they kind of started to add that. Whatever, but I don't know. Like it's just stuff like that is just a huge mess too. It's just a disaster.
Sigil of bursting. They could fix that any day now and make it actually give you 5% to your
Yeah.
condition ticks.
Well,
That would be
they
so
know
good.
how to do it, right? Because they did it with Rune of the Berserker. So the technology is there.
It was
That
probably
would-
just made by two different people.
They have the
that
technology.
pulled this code. Yeah.
They can build it.
Yes, they can rebuild the sigil. Boom.
Sigils and runes are
That's a whole other
and
issue.
food. That's a whole other topic, but it's in such a weird, bad place that
It's kind of an
the whole
unsolvable
system needs
problem.
an
though.
overhaul.
There's always
Yeah.
going to be a best rune, or then there'll always be optimal sigils, and they'll.
Sure.
There
At
are
what
some choices
point?
involved, and you know the warrior stuff is a good example of this with air and accuracy. But a lot of the time, it's just this is the best. This X rune is the best option here. These sigils are the best. Exactly, it's best at. You know, this food is the best food in the game. But I don't think there's any real solutions there that can. There's always going to be the best thing for each fight, each profession.
We talked a little bit earlier about speculation that it might have been part of a weird league at some point too, I think. But Brazil talked a little bit about the possibility, and this hasn't been confirmed by ArenaNet, but the possibility of nerfing Necro's Epidemic. So why would they do something like that, do you think?
No, it has
World v.
been,
World.
It has been talked about by ArenaNet. They just don't know how to fix it yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, they said they were going to monitor it because they didn't have a good way of like.
No, they said they're
seeing
gonna.
exactly
They
what it was doing.
they need to figure out how it works, and then they're gonna nerf it whenever they do. That was what they said.
Just give it the
Like-
second of inspiration. 6 stacks of bleeds is all that transfers.
Exactly.
Well,
Easy.
if they do, because already isn't there a max stacks of 25 for a lot of things?
25.
Yeah. So if they just do the signal of inspiration thing and make it 10 seconds of each condition, then that could make sense.
Because of the kind of unusual way which Epidemic works, that probably wouldn't really change anything. I
No?
don't think. Yeah. I mean, I think the way they would probably do it is cap the number of stacks. But the thing is, though, Epidemic is kind of, you know, is really, really good. You'd probably say if it was just 10 stacks, you'd probably still take it just to bounce it with another Necro. It'd still be pretty good.
That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna make it unbounceable.
No. How? Oh, yeah, we talked about this. We
Yeah.
talked
They'll make it apply
Brazil's
a
theory.
unique debuff. No, it's not a theory. This is what they'll do.
It's a good
They'll-
idea.
They'll make it apply a unique debuff,
not
and
a theory.
enemies with that debuff cannot be affected by Epidemic for the duration of the debuff. Easy, fixes it.
Yeah. It would work.
So now you have them doing what's intended. You have a necromancer spread the stuff onto other stuff, and you don't have what was unintended. See, they didn't know how unintended it was because no one played necromancer for 3 years, and this wasn't a problem.
Couldn't
So-
they do that exact same thing with Signet of Inspiration?
Make it unbounceable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't really have two mesmers. Well, I guess you do in World versus World, huh? See, Boots.
My
you've
God!
solved the problem.
So wait, what would you actually do? How would you make it
You make-
unbounceable?
You make a unique debuff that applies to people affected by Signet of Inspiration.
They can't.
And so
they can't
they
use Signet of
can't be-
Inspiration.
They can't be affected by Signet of Inspiration for the duration of the debuff.
And the debuff is what? The same length as the cooldown of
The
Signet.
same length of the cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would work, right?
Alacrity makes that a little weird. But yes, in theory.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just do that.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's just do that.
Wait.
Three-
But
Fine,
doesn't that
sorry.
mean that? Wait.
Just take Epidemic and Corrupt Boon, merge them into one skill,
Corrupt
and there
Epidemic.
you go. Where there goes World v. World, it's solved.
Oh,
All the
yeah.
problems solved.
Then they're gonna have to come up with a new corruption skill, though.
The
That's
thing,
hard.
the thing is though, with how you strip the boons off people in World vs. World, because everyone's all stacked up, when it all kind of get a bit fucked up and not really do anything.
No, see, this is what you do. You make plague form, just remove boons every tick. It was like
Yeah,
5 boons.
there's still a target limit, isn't there?
Take it off.
Because I think the target limit in World vs. World, well, I don't know, maybe someone in the chat who knows something about World vs. World can call me a retard or something, but because the whole point of stacking is that, you know, it's very difficult to focus someone down, so surely if you put your, you know, necro wells down or something, it can make it pretty difficult to actually get rid of all of someone's boons, and they can just be reapplied by everyone who's just going crazy, spamming all their boon spam, doing what they
Well,
do.
and Revenants don't even have to spam anything. It just
Walk around with
Just has to be
passives,
active.
right? Yeah.
I kind of want the cap removed again from World vs. World target cap, but it's not going to happen. Just
They
for
can't remove
lag
it.
sake.
They can't
For
remove
lag
it.
sake.
It would just get ridiculous. It would,
Yeah.
And it even better. I think it would be really funny because wouldn't you just insta suicide to retaliation? Can you imagine an Ellie using meteor shower on the.
Yeah, but the meteor shower would still exist after the Ellie dies.
Yes.
Here,
So-
BRB, Franker Z.
Frank Z. Add a new condition that is the opposite of resistance. All boons are ignored. Have it override resistance. That's actually pretty interesting. Sounds pretty broken though. I have to say, it sounds insane.
Yes, it does.
I guess you could do that, but I mean, how many? If you had a new condition, that's confusing to new players anyway. I don't know.
Well, another thought I had too was, remember before raids there was a big discussion on how many people buffs should apply to, and that like so empowered allies, well, I guess it affects 6 people in theory, but anyway, 5 is how most buffs are applied. So why not make it 10, like what we asked before raids came out?
Mhm.
That way you would actually run like one of every profession
Mesmer.
in raids. That way you only need one Mesmer, because when it does Signet of Inspiration, it applies to 10 people by default. Because, I mean, the 5 thing's an artificial thing, and, I mean, if that would improve World v. World 2 to make the target cap 10, maybe not completely uncapped, but just 10.
I
target
like that
cap is
idea.
fine.
I like that idea, but I also like the idea that I have of this is only going to be a problem for 7 months or something like that until the next, or maybe a year, I don't know, until the next expansion comes out, because you go inside the DPS testing zone and you talk on the computer and it has what unique buffs would you like, and then they have all the classes listed, and only 2 or 3 of them actually have unique buffs, but they're all options to select. So I figure eventually all classes are going to have unique buffs to give a raid, and if that's the case, who knows, maybe the meta will change so dramatically when all the new elite specs come out that this won't be an issue anymore.
But the thing is though, I don't think you'll ever get away from quickness. You can't escape quickness.
Yeah, but there could be another
too
class
good.
that gives quickness.
Yeah, but Mesmer does quickness and alacrity. It's really
Yes, that's true. That is true.
good. Like, it's Mesmer is sticky. Okay, it's very
Yeah.
very sticky.
And I don't see another class giving alacrity.
No,
That
No,
won't
that's
happen.
probably a done concept.
Yeah.
Another class could give quickness potentially, or they could try and distribute quickness around other. You can nerf quickness, but nerfing quickness would make the game unplayable already. I mean, playing without quickness is more or less. Why would I
Quickness
even play?
was already nerfed.
Without quickness
Yeah.
and ice
An
bow.
ice bow, yeah. I don't know.
I do like the boon cap being 10
Yeah.
instead of 5.
That would really free up builds, right? Because even now, you still have a minute, like 5 slots already taken. Chrono, maybe you use 100% boon duration in your chrono. You have 2 warriors and 2 druids because you want everyone to have.
Warriors.
Well, not anymore. Well, not if it
No,
was
you just need
with
one
10.
warrior. Yeah.
No, yeah, I know, but what I mean is right now, you want everyone to have all the Empower allies and the warrior banners, because it's really good. You're just adding so many stats to everyone in the group, and then it turns out the druid buffs are really good. Brazil, you can say how terrible Grace of the Land is now, and that you hate
Needs
it.
to be removed.
Yeah, there you go. Brazil wants to remove Grace of the Land from the game, because it's really, really good, and Glyph of Empowerment, really, really strong. And the Frost Spirit, the various spirits that you might use, also really, really good. So there already is fixed slots. Like half the group is already predetermined before you go and do anything, because of how strong, how necessary it is for everyone to have 25 might. You want the Fury, you want Empower Allies, you want Spotter, you want Grace of the Land. I mean, Druid is packed with goodies, but I don't know. So if they did raise the cap to 10, then suddenly you can, get some other classes in there. And then this is where these two ideas come into just beautiful synergy here, as Boots says. Down the line,
Sorry.
maybe you can get all the other classes bring some other unique modifiers. Maybe say, I don't know, NG gets the plus 150 condition damage, and they go, we should probably bring engineers. That's pretty good. For the
Engineer needs a little love.
Imagine Basilisk Venom applying to 10 people. That'd be like the break bar dream.
Okay, well, the problem is if we increase the cap to 10, then doesn't World versus World get screwed up again?
No, because there's this thing called split balance.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, good luck with
Well,
that.
the good news is once this is over, the devs will forget about World v. World for another 3 years, and we won't have to worry about it happening again.
Just-
We've got to convince them to turn it back, Well, I mean, I don't think it's even possible.
Count your chickens before they hatch.
Well, they did. Look, they've got the get out clause. Look at this. As this update rolls out, we will continue to monitor the effectiveness of these changes, along with the remainder of the balance updates, and we'll make additional adjustments and tweaks as necessary. And by tweaks, they mean remove World vs. World from the game. Thanks for
They
your
said
time.
the same thing about the Elementalist cooldowns, and said they were watching, and despite everyone just getting it, like just a riot on Reddit about everyone hating it and saying just nerf the damage instead, so I haven't done anything about it.
Yeah, but it turns out that wasn't a problem. In fact,
no.
people got faster kills afterwards.
It turns out that the problem is the get out clause is either just there because we're not going to do anything, but we say we might, or it turns out that's not going to happen until the next balance update in 3 months. So,
okay, so the big problem with the Elementalist nerf was that it doesn't feel good anymore, right?
correct.
I mean, come on. It's not that big of a deal.
It is.
Well, that's why it hasn't been, probably why they haven't really done anything to it, because Elementalist is still really good.
Yeah.
Even
Still.
after they, I mean, that just kind of shows how, I guess, pretty ridiculous it was
It's just-
before.
It's just kind of clunky, right? Isn't that the complaint, really?
Like I don't like clunky. Not liking clunky is why I quit playing Engineer, even though I loved it. Like, they deleted a single trait, and that ruined the whole rotation.
Fireforge trigger.
Oh,
Let's see. There was an interesting point in chat. That's the way to buff it. You end up buffing everything. Why not just nerf the ranges buff so it isn't necessary? Yeah, I mean that will be fine, but why do they have to fuck everything else up? And why isn't the Signet overpowered in PvP, in open world PvP? What do you, open world PvP? What do you mean? It is. That's the whole point.
He means PvE.
Oh, open world. Well, that it doesn't. No one cares.
No one cares is what it comes down to.
And
Sad but true.
Yeah, and PvP. I mean, because Mesmer, you don't really take the. Well, I mean, why would you take the Signet? I mean, you're not. You don't. I mean, I guess you could, but it would be some kind of really weird, cheesy build. Whereas you're probably better off with just having the epic utility of Portal, and instead of just being kind of a boon bitch in PvP. You kind of can't really afford to have someone who's that sort of thing in PvP. Not sure about that though.
It's ad
Chipotle.
time.
It's ad time. That's all very quickly. Let us endorse Chipotle. Let's go. Brazil, tell us about
Oh.
Chipotle. Do you like Chipotle?
Chipotle's pretty good. I went there the other day.
Wish they had them in my area.
All right. Here's the actual. This is actually a life hack. Okay.
Okay, life hack. Here we go.
So when you go to Chipotle and get extra meat or extra whatever, like generally meat, they charge you double for it. Well, they charge you a little bit for the extra. So they don't charge extra for double anything else. So you can get double beans, double rice, double basically everything, and they don't charge you for it. So just go in, get a bowl with like quadruple beans, quadruple rice, and just put on like double chicken, and then just eat it for 3 meals. And it just costs the same as a bowl with double chicken. Easy. Price hacks. You just have to learn what they don't charge you extra for. Just exploit that into the ground, and there you go.
Aren't you going to get banned, though?
I've been doing that for the past 2 years.
Is that
People that work there don't care.
Is that the
I
ice
go
bowl of
in,
Chipotle
like,
Brazil?
I go in and they're just prepared. They like know it's coming.
But that's like the similar to I seen a video of somebody in like a Subway or something, and they were getting like whatever the cheapest sandwich is, and they just kept adding vegetables on top.
Yep.
He just kept saying no more, no, like a stack of olives like this deep on, like you couldn't even close the sandwich, right? And he's like, no, that's fine, just wrap it like that.
And then gets the sandwich and empties all the vegetables into a package or something.
Whatever, yeah.
If you want to go even further, you can also get a tortilla on the side if you get a bowl, and they don't charge you extra for it. So you can get a bowl with double everything, and then you can get a tortilla for free, and then you can just, make a burrito at home. Easy.
Heaviest is that's hilarious. Oh god, it's that fat kid again. He's gonna order quadruple beans.
I've been saying that for years.
Oh man, it's hilarious.
I think something that I'd like to kind of talk about a little bit is kind of specifically focus on Druid and what are they trying to do here?
Didn't we just have like an entire stream about Druid last week or the week before?
But that was a shit.
Yeah,
it was a shit talk.
That's where we were just triggering people and people that were just kind of deliberately upset people. There's some quite angry people in the comments.
Really
it's really funny comments on that tea time, but
Brazil's crying. He needs to kill himself. Okay.
But I don't really understand what they're trying to get at here with the thing, because it's going to just make it more difficult to keep everyone alive with the Berserker Druid or Viper Druid or whatever kind of offensive variant you want to go with. But I don't see anything really changing. I mean, what are they trying to make way for? So they right now they find it objectionable that Berserker Druid is still fairly effective at healing.
Well,
and it's
I think
also
this is
providing
a PvP.
offensive buffs. You think it's PvP?
I think it's PvP because they want you to have to invest in healing power to make CA as powerful as it is in PvP.
You kind of already do, though, with Mender's.
Mender's amulet.
Yeah.
You should delete that, by the way.
So I guess it will end up a bit weaker because if the scaling is not good enough to make up for the lost base values.
But isn't Mender's already 1,000?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a good chunk of healing power. It's 1,050 healing power.
Yeah.
And so if they're trying to aim at PvP with this, and when you commonly use Mender Amulet anyway.
See, I'll tell you how to fix
does this really do anything?
This is how you fix PvP stats. You give 2 slots, and you just have amulets with 1 stat, and you can combine them.
But then you only have 2 stats.
Yeah, but you get to pick which ones you want.
But then
you kill power builds.
Yeah, wait, you need
easy.
ferocity. What you play?
All right, then give us 3 stats.
Well, fine. Then you just pick cleric. I mean,
No, you take toughness, vitality, and healing power.
Oh, is that nomad? That's nomad, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
it's a good one.
See, this is a funny realization. Realizing that nomads got power creeped and that minstrels is just like almost always better than that because it's the same thing, it just has boon duration on it. That was a funny realization to make.
That's when that Dry Top Guild broke up.
Yeah.
Drama.
Wait, what?
No, I'm joking. There was there is a Dry Top Guild.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like. Wait, what? Oh man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So we have Nike on with us,
That's
but
true.
we haven't talked about any kind of like drama things yet. I want
What?
drama.
Oh my.
What?
Grandma? What's
Drama.
grandma?
All right,
Drama.
I'll add Nemesis
No.
to the
Grandma
call.
mean?
It's like-
No.
oh, he's offline. He's probably, I don't know.
Grandma mean.
Just trying to make part 4.
Do you have any juicy things you could talk about, Nike?
What?
Yes, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
I don't like to be involved in drama. It just seems to happen.
I love it.
It just happens.
Yeah.
You love drama, don't you, Brazil? You love
I
hating
just
on
like
other.
I enjoy conflict. It's just from the like perspective standpoint that it's just amusing.
I enjoy trying to mediate conflict.
Why?
I don't know, I'm Canadian.
And then married life's going to treat you
Oh, is that
really
what
well.
you are?
Boots.
Yeah, probably.
How does that make you feel?
Oh. We get some bit of conflict going on there. Inks, go quick. Lunge your boots. Go. Call him an idiot. Go.
You're an idiot.
Ah.
You're moving south of the border. What's the matter with you?
I know, that was pretty dumb.
Boots, whenever
It's
you,
great
whenever you get
timing,
over here-
Boots. You know, you really pick the right year to go.
Yeah, let me
Thank
know when
God.
you're here, and we'll never hang out. So it'll be great.
He's not
Done
going till
and
December, so he still has some
Yeah.
time to see how it all turns out.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can get to see the before and after.
Yeah. I mean, if things go badly, it's possible that all borders will be closed before I could even start moving.
Yeah.
You got to get your special border passing cross.
Gotta get in there quick, otherwise they're gonna build a wall between.
Yeah.
They're gonna mess
they
it
make-
up.
isn't
Instead
that
of
a
Mexico,
thing?
they're gonna do it with Canada.
He did say he was gonna like repeal NAFTA and completely remake it, though, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, NAFTA's a joke. This is getting way off topic, but NAFTA's a joke anyway.
Topic.
Quick story time. I was able to get into Canada because of NAFTA, because of NAFTA loopholes.
Are you an illegal immigrant, Inks?
No, I'm legal now. When I first came to Canada, I came in through NAFTA because I had a degree in chemistry. So if you have a degree in something that is needed in one of the other countries, it's real easy to get immigration status, landed immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
But NAFTA is such a screwed up thing that it doesn't really benefit either country very well. So I could definitely see them, both Canada and the U.S., just saying, yeah, we don't really need this anymore.
Yeah, but what if all the people, they're going to have some sort of clause saying that everybody on like a T1 visa or whatever, all the people who currently on visas that are reliant on NAFTA get to stay for the duration or...
Until their visa runs out. Yeah, you need to renew it every... I don't know. Do I have it in front of me? You need to renew it like every 4 years, I think, or 5 years.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What is it? Expiry 2018. So yeah, it's 5 years.
And then you're gonna get thrown out.
So mine gets renewed in 2018
Plenty of
again.
time.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
Derpy, Moa, and Snow Crows? Oh, I remember this. Yeah, okay.
Wait, didn't Derpy Moa create drama in the chat last time he was here or the time before?
Yeah. QT really
I'm not
likes
sure
him.
if he's-
QT loves
yeah.
Defimo.
Yeah, I love Derpy Moa too. I love you so much. You should send me money.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Okay. It's an unusual statement.
Believe me, I'm telling the truth. I love you, Derpy. Your off-wall Lupica solo it makes me warm inside.
Wow.
Oh my god.
So should we talk about the three-man Veil Guardian?
That was pretty
Pretty
good.
impressive.
There we go. And that's the end of that
That was
topic.
good.
Minstrel,
Minstrel-
OP, Minstrel Chrono.
Minstrel Chrono. Me and Brazil had it right the whole time.
Every build in that video is going to be incidentally nerfed on Tuesday, or directly nerfed, as it
The
were.
Minstrel Chrono video.
What?
Wait, which video?
The
the
three-man.
Veil
Three-man.
Guardian trio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't have that. We can't have people being good at this game.
Minstrel Druid nerfed, Condi Druid nerfed, Condi Warrior possibly nerfed because you won't have as much might generation, and SOI won't have as much might share, so you might not be able to run it. So funny how all three could possibly be nerfed.
Everything just hinges on Signet of Inspiration. There is no it's the Signet of Inspiration meta, not the Iceberg meta here.
It's interesting that I don't know if I was a game developer and somebody went in and then 3-man my 10-man content, I would feel pretty good about that because obviously you designed it for that to not be possible, really, and they found a way around it.
I would think, wow, these people are really good at my game and they really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone else is. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't take it as like
exploiting something broken isn't being good.
Wrong.
What did they exploit that's broken?
That's incorrect.
Wait,
what's broken about that? What's broken?
No, exploiting something. Okay, so we need to have a talk. We're gonna have a talk. So you can be good at exploiting and you can be bad at exploiting, and you can think you're good at exploiting, but you can be bad at it. Like all of the people who this was Nike and I used to fight hand to hand. We'd put our backs together and rotate and just karate chop people that came at us from every direction. Because there were all these people in dungeons who thought they were good because they could put on berserker's armor and kill trash mobs. And they would all just go in a corner, and when the mobs would come through, they'd just get eaten alive and die. And you have Zelda speedrunners who have literally just dissected the game down to the level of it was God putting together particles. And they just obliterate the game and speedrun like Ocarina of Time in like 3 seconds. So, like... Yes, you can absolutely be good at something because you exploit something that's broken. Like, you can be good at exploiting, you can be bad at exploiting, and you can exploit things correctly to be better than everyone else. So, like, the Euros back in the day of, like, soloing dungeons and speedruns, they used to do it faster than everyone else because they'd use, like, Ash Legion spy kits and the Executioner's Axe and Harpy Feathers, and like that was stuff I never had any interest in doing, but they were abusing things that probably wasn't intended. But like whatever, like that's like there are different categories of speed runs and records, and like in Guild Wars 2 we had restricted and unrestricted, and whatever, who cares? Like, doesn't matter. Let people do what they want to do. It's not hurting anything.
So I don't quite understand what in that 3-man what is being exploited there.
I assume the distortion share is what their guy's referencing, but
isn't that a mechanic?
I would say so.
Yeah, it's something the Mesmer can do. I don't understand. It's what it does. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Other than that, all they did was execute the mechanics to such a degree that they didn't really matter. And
it's
that's
like dodge rolling. Like,
yeah, using dodge. They used the dodge. I mean, maybe you could argue that the Mesmer's Blood Frenzy stow trick is kind of an exploit. I think maybe you could consider that's an exploit. That may not be intended, but even it's really difficult to execute that, right? That's a tiny window to use to get the blur to avoid getting bopped by the angry Veil Guardian. So I think it's still very, very skilled to actually do that. I mean, what can I say? You know, we've been there. We've done 10 Healing Tempests, all these bosses, perfect execution except for Matthias when a bunch of people died, but we still did it anyway. Easy.
You mean when a bunch of people sabotaged one other person?
I don't know,
and
Brazil.
Got them killed on purpose.
I don't know.
I was targeted.
Oh, are they talking about the stow weapon bug?
That's...
Well,
that's something that exists in like every game. You can like put attacks in between animation.
Would you say then that Helseth is not skilled because he uses the stow weapon bug in PvP? He's not skilled. He's just exploiting.
That's a case of someone being better at exploiting something than someone else, and like there's skill involved in it. And I don't even know if it's an exploit or not. It's just interaction.
Stuff like this is important.
I
for
mean,
the game. Dota is animation canceling, but yeah, when you animation cancel in Dota, you don't actually do anything. That's the whole point. When you cancel the Blurred Frenzy, you actually get something out of it. That's the distinction here. You actually get the blur out of it. Whereas if you animation cancel I don't know, you animation cancel, the Reaper shout. You can get all the effects going crazy, but then nothing. Or Moa, you can have the Moa symbol appear over your head, and then nothing actually happens. When you do this, you actually get something out of animation canceling. But I don't think it's an expert.
Teapot, a little off topic, but I've decided that you should name when you raid with Salt. You should name it 3-Wing Circus.
But there'll be another wing soon.
Damn it!
We've already got the door. We've already got the door.
It's going to be Halloween only, and it's going to be temporary, and it won't give us precursor armor.
You think there's going to be a Halloween raid?
Yep.
Mad King Thorn. Mad King Thorn is the raid, and it's easy mode.
Yes.
No.
And it's going to have
an actual raid or just
drops.
5-man, whatever.
No, it'll be an actual raid with 10 people, but it'll be really easy to do. And QT is going to speed clear it in 10 seconds, so it wasn't around, so if Reddit doesn't make a sound, no one hears it.
It's fine. They won't get world first anyway, because they have inside information. Random user has decreed it. It's good.
I have the
Mad
best
King's dungeon
jokes.
could be made into a raid. Yeah, it could be. Well, there's a Halloween patch on Tuesday. We don't know if the balance change is coming then, but I kind of hope so. Just so we know.
I just want to get it over with. Just want it over with.
It'll either be the patch that deletes Halloween from the game or adds it. It's one of the two.
Deletes Halloween from the game?
Yeah.
What?
Well, the Loot Stick Labyrinth will still be there, even though last year it had diminishing returns, right? So people are asking for diminishing returns to be removed, and they're asking for... Last year, you didn't get experience for playing in the labyrinth, and they said they were going to fix that. So we'll see if that happens.
I have a question.
Hi.
Okay. Not last year, but the year before. Whenever there was the labyrinth, basically, I would go in and level up all my tunes that way. Just continuously. It's the fastest way to level. It was the fastest way to level anyway. But now I have, I think, like 500 tomes of knowledge and a ridiculous amount of experience scrolls and level up to 20, level up to 30, level up to 40 things. What am I going to do with those? Can we do something with tomes of knowledge now at some point?
Shards. Yep. You're flooded with. So
That's
you
it?
can donate them to your local guild hall, and they can use them for whatever upgrade is needed there.
The spirit
same
shards,
thing.
yeah.
The same thing I do with luck. You just hoard it until it fills all your spots up.
I know what you could do, but you could buy Heart of Thorns and you could make a new profession, the Revenant. Oh wait, no, don't do that.
I already have all the professions, unfortunately, and I'm not gonna.
Just make more.
No, that's too much. I already have two rangers.
Just do an inks. Just delete everything and start again.
Yeah, start over.
Yeah.
That's how you keep engaged.
That seems fair, right? I mean, yeah, it's an efficient way of leveling, but they've added more kind of alt support, right? Now with all the tomes, you get them in dailies even.
People always, there's always people out there who are either new to the game or they just have a lot of alts that they love leveling in the labyrinth. So, I mean, it's not for me, but good for them.
And it's not really healthy. It's not really healthy to have something that's accessible to all levels where you can just insta level everything anyway. Because we
can bring back Shadius and we can level his Revenant for him.
Because always just gonna have level 2 people who the only thing they've ever done is the labyrinth, and I'm level 8, don't know what to do, and then they go to raids and say, hey, I should raid, and they go like rare. I don't even know what's like a terrible type of gear. Like
COF Farm or Mad King, what is better?
What?
Mad King, probably. It depends whether you get the experience again or not, but probably Mad King. But I could be wrong on that. Someone was asking for like.
You just
I guess it's good too for those who don't have like if you don't have your core Tyria masteries maxed out and they re-enable the experience you gain in Labyrinth, it'd be good for that.
Yes, it would be.
And that's what that person is asking about, COF or Labyrinth. for that kind of stuff. What's better? Probably the Labyrinth if they re-enable it, but it was broken last year, which is a shame because
Yeah, that's why everyone did COF for him.
yeah, yep. That's why Brazil spent like 2 days there.
No, it was like 8 hours.
Yeah. You got those mastery points quickly. Now you don't have to do it anymore.
COF is terrible now that you get a shit ton of experience from Fractals. Well, there you go. Just to cliffside a few times.
You know
can
what
jump
they
off
could
it when
do
you're done.
for raid hard mode? This would actually be interesting. Is just like make different tiers of hard mode and make it so you up the level of the enemy, like have 10 tiers. So on the 10th tier, the enemy is level 90, but you still have your level 80 gear and level 80 stats, and it scales all the way up. So you crit it less, it does more damage to you, etc., etc., etc. That would be, I think, an easy way to make a hard mode raid. And if you clear everything on like the 10th tier of the hard mode, then you get a title called like the nth degree or something stupid. See, that'd be great. That'd be really fun. Because those level 90 skeleton liches were just hilarious in the way that like stuff that's a higher level than you is affected by crit chance is just funny. So, I don't know.
I'm not sure if you could do it with level 90.
Yeah, you would. People would find a way.
Would it
Borderlands
just take
2
forever?
has a system like that, and it's really good. But, I don't know.
What do we think about? I don't know if we probably have talked about it, but what do we think about the new raid portal? Ideas on where it's going to take us? When it might open?
Halloween.
You think it's going to open on the 18th?
Well, there's a great video on someone's YouTube channel here that kind of tells us about that.
Oh, really?
About what?
Yeah. About what the next raid wing.
Yeah, I made a speculation video.
Oh, we should talk about that.
I think the next raid will be November because there's going to be the December patch is already pretty much Winter's Day, and probably next Living Story January. So it makes sense that if they're going to do the raid, it would be November. Either that or they double up in January, which probably seems unlikely.
I thought the next Living World might be November, and then the raid would be January.
It's possible that they could do it that way.
Yeah.
January would give them time to finish Legendary Armor.
No, it wouldn't. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, we're nearly at 300 insights, right? Are we going to be able to craft them all at the same time? That'll be pretty good,
this
right?
This week I'll have 300 insights.
Yeah.
Well, 301.
I think you're kind of missing the point, Teapot. You say that you're going to be able to craft them all at the same point. No. They're going to let you craft one, and then 6-7 months down the road, they'll come up with a system for you to craft multiple different sets. They need to string that out. You need to stretch that content even further.
Yeah, but they said that the heavy one is nearly ready to be shown to the community.
Sure. Until the community all tells them that they hate it and they need to go back and redesign it. That's another 9 months.
That's good. Do you think it's going to be disappointing no matter what because it's taken so long?
Of course.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
not necessarily.
No, it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
I think so. Like
there's always going to be people who don't like it or whatever. It's just the way it is.
Like it's so easy to design awesome armors. Like you can go to DeviantArt, and I was saying this in Guild once. Go to DeviantArt, search for like generic fantasy art, and you can find some Brazilian guy who will design you the best looking armor ever for like $200. Like it's not that hard.
You can also pay a group of Brazilians $500 to make a video for you.
What? What?
You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, fuck's sake!
Why is it
that's an old meme. We'll see who gets that.
Robo's seen it.
Yeah, Robo. You remember that video?
Oh man.
It is odd that the door to the next raid is open already put in there. If it's only going to be January or November, you might be right, Brazil. Maybe it's something for Halloween. It could be they bring back the old Mad King fight, like the original Mad King fight on his island.
Yeah, one boss raid. It's like a mini raid. Mad
Exactly.
King.
But then they would have to lock the gate again. What is that going to be? The seasonal raid gate?
Yeah, why not? Because they had a kind of Winter's Day dungeon style thing in Guild Wars 1. They can have that in Guild Wars 2 as well. Go and fight the giant snowman.
They'd have to buff him hard though if they're going to make it a 10-man.
I really think it's going to be a November-ish raid.
I mean, even if legendary armor isn't done, the precursor could still be done. They don't need to have the badass final one. At least give us like a little bit of a carrot on the end of the stick. Like just give us the precursor and you can string us out for another 3 months.
There you go. Because there's six more slots in the heart, right? So you can bring another raid wing out. That'll fill 3 more slots up, give you precursor armor, string you out for another 3 to 6 months.
They could just disable.
Sounds like we're on heroin. Just string you out for a couple months, and then 3 more to the heart, and then you can finally finish.
Well, there's still that one gift that's part of the final recipe that isn't in the game yet. So they can, even if you finish the precursor collection, you still can't make it.
Nope.
Right.
So
exactly,
they could just string us out on that.
But
any progress would be good.
Exactly, definitely, and they can just make the last gift just really obnoxious and impossible to get. So.
Oh, it will be. It will be.
It will seem.
They've already said it's like what 250 or 150 something like that of each of the HOT map currencies.
Well, that's What? That's not even bad. That's
so you need like 1,500 airship parts, 1,500 helium, 1,500 crystal.
What?
That's like an hour on each map.
Yeah. What are you talking about? That's nothing, dude.
Do it.
Like when you farm.
He promised himself he'd never go back there.
It's not as bad as 125 chak eggs. You know?
So it turns out I'm not getting legendary armor after all.
You can't even do one of each of the maps.
Can't be bothered. It's not even worth it. Oh man.
Provisioner tokens is for me the thing that will keep me from getting multiple sets.
Yeah,
I'm just not doing it a second time. I mean, I wouldn't have done it the first time except for the one NPC who may or may not have been able to give you unlimited provisioner tokens every day.
But that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is that still in the game?
No, they fixed that.
Oh,
there were 2, but they fixed it.
Disaster.
That's funny.
Well, that's why they should add. You know how they did this with amalgamated gemstones, right? They should just add provisioner token at the end of each meta event, and you just grind.
I think
out
they need
events.
They need to take a look at provisioner tokens again as well, because the bloodbound weapons are ridiculous. They're ridiculously overpriced.
But they don't even look good. That's the thing. They're not even.
Well,
good.
not only do they not have a unique skin necessarily, because the skin's represented elsewhere in the game, but they're way overpriced for what they do.
Yeah, the scaling. I mean, I guess that's kind of nice, but it's why.
They did say that they're going to come up with some alternative way to get provisioner tokens, and I think anything besides clicking 10 waypoints a day is pretty good.
Laurels.
Fine.
Legendary insights. You can convert them into a provisioner token.
Fine. Yeah, salvage them and
I'd do that.
Because, so after you have 450 legendary insights, they effectively become worthless, right? Because if you're going to craft every single set, you need 150 each. So what do you do with your legendary insights after that?
They should let you trade legendary insights for a couple of things. Maybe even raid tokens, like some really bad conversion, mind you, but still some kind of conversion. Because you're right. Eventually, you're going to have enough legendary insights that they become pointless. I mean, I imagine in the future there'll be other recipes or something that involves them, but how far down the road is that?
Well, when the PvP legendary armor comes out, you'll need them for that probably.
You can now get legendary insights by playing structured PvP, guys. You don't even need raid.
They'll just put it on Stronghold. Whenever you finish the Lord in Stronghold, you get a legendary insight. Yeah? That'll be
Stronghold's
good.
back.
Stronghold is
Actually-
back on the menu.
I wouldn't be surprised if World v. World gets legendary armor next, before PvP. Wouldn't surprise
I
me.
could see it.
You just have to
PvP
do
has
a,
glorious heroes armor.
you have to do a reward track 1,000 times. There you go, legendary armor. Job done. You can just AFK on the ruins and get the job done. It's fine.
Well, it's
So
World
you get
vs.
the
World,
share
so they'll actually make you leave World vs. World and go do other things so that you can earn it, because that's how it works. That's how you
Of
earn
course.
things in World vs. World. They actually make you leave the game mode you want to play in order to earn things.
Yeah, I had to do that for my gift of battle. You know, what was that? 6 hours? Easy. Just 6 hours of just like literally just going into a team speak so I looked like I was doing something, muting it, and just watching movies while I just ran around in a Zerg for 6 hours straight to get my gift of battle.
Just do the ruins exploit.
Exploit.
What's that?
Just move.
Just
in
capture
it.
that point over
Yeah,
and over?
just it and move in and out of it. Then you just don't even have to play the game.
Yeah, but that's worse. Then I'm like doing less and it's more obvious that I'm in there.
Well, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I wanted to, like, there's a threshold of effort that you have to do for it to not just be horrible.
Yeah, the
ruin
ruins-
exploit would
I
be
didn't-
horrible.
I didn't think.
And
I didn't think
also-
so either, Marty. It doesn't work anymore anyway.
Doesn't? Oh.
No, last patch they put your bar degenerates too quickly for it to work properly
Oh.
anymore.
God damn it! I have to actually play the game now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem.
They watched Royer's video on it and they fixed it.
Hello, Teapot. This is Mike O'Brien. I've been informed by my slaves
Mike?
that you are disgracing my perfect game with your clowning. You have 2 more days to summon back your elitist roots, or else I'm going to annihilate your British donger with my plus 25% increase to gems. Oh no. That's not
Plus
good.
25% increase to gems. What does that mean?
Price increase.
Oh, okay.
No one will be able to buy anything. The cat ears will be even more expensive.
Oh no.
Exactly.
I've only been able to buy 3 so far. I need 4.
Actually, Terry, that's a great idea. I wonder if commanders already do that. If they sell that participation spot, selling participation spot 20 gold. Just join the party. Send me 20 gold. We'll give it to you while we run around and actually play.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't already do that.
No, I mean, people sell everything else in this game anyway.
Everything.
Yep.
Personal
Sell
story
raids.
steps.
Yeah, I mean, personal story. That's an interesting thing to sell.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was in
I just-
AB multi-loot this morning, and the commander was selling VIP slots in the thing. So
Oh my God.
these people wouldn't get kicked if they didn't use the lobby. It was
Oh my
like,
God.
wow.
Wow. That's capitalism, folks.
That person is a genius. If you don't pay me, I'm going to kick you.
The participation slot, does that work in raids? Like, would you be able to 9-man a raid and then have somebody outside of the raid doing other stuff and
No,
give
no,
them
no.
the participation slot?
Nah, you have to get credit for the event to
Right.
get
Ah.
anything done.
Yeah.
So you can just plink the boss and then go AFK. It didn't. We tried it with a
Welcome,
level
Yummy.
2 character, but it didn't work. Brazil just was on his level 2 thief, but he just insta died to
Yeah.
passive damage.
Uh,
Didn't work. And even if it did
Well,
work,
it gives.
it gives
yeah.
mastery XP anyway, so it wouldn't have made any
Yeah.
difference. Otherwise, it would have been
Correct.
kind of good. I don't know.
World vs. World only, not even open world?
Well, yeah, it's designed for World versus World. That's what it does. It shares World versus World participation,
Mm.
not normal participation. Explicitly
okay.
World versus World participation.
Darn.
So
Never
you
mind.
can't do anything else. Well, do you have anything
Told
else to
the
talk
commander I
about?
was scouting
Not
a
really.
tower, and I got shared participation. Easy gift of battle.
We should
Yep.
take questions.
Okay. But these days, people never actually ask us questions. They just ask us really retarded questions. But don't do anything.
Hey, streamer, what's your favorite color?
I have a story to tell while we're waiting on questions.
That perfect. Let's go.
Pretty horrible. So I was talking to a friend of mine last night that I keep up with, and he knows a guy who's like really. He's eccentric. He's an artist. He's very eccentric. And so for like months, the guy would send my friend pictures of his iguanas. He had like iguanas for pets. And then like my friend didn't hear anything from him for like half a year. And then like one day the guy just sends my friend pictures of 2 iguana skeletons.
Oh.
And the guy says, I went on vacation and forgot about them, and it looks like ants ate them.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I was watching a movie last night and I heard that, and that's like the most horrible thing that I think I've heard for like a while. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyways, ask this question, guys. Now get this story off of our minds. We need something to distract us. Ask your questions.
Could you
There we go.
discuss what exactly is good and bad about engineers and what can be done to make them feel worth using and be competitive?
I think somebody here had an entire video about that.
Yeah, Boots is unemployed, so that's what's wrong with him.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to look for a job when I move.
That's pretty brutal, actually.
Yeah.
Nike has insight onto this, I'd assume.
Well, they're all fucked now because Bomb Kit 1 doesn't benefit from Alacrity, so
Rip!
even their one
It's
good
over.
easy build is
Yeah.
dead. So
Destroyed.
there we go.
Oh boy.
No. I don't
Bomb Kit 2
think,
though.
I don't think engineer is bad. It's just... It's not really widely used, but I think it definitely does get used in a bunch of groups. It's good on Veil Guardian. You can use
It's
that.
harder to get the same stuff out of it that you can by just
Yeah.
doing very simple rotations on a Necromancer with
think-
minions that just hit the boss and pressing Epidemic. Engineer, you've got to do a whole lot more.
If we get 2 Mesmers and there's always 100% alacrity on everybody, Condi NG won't be terrible. It's still
Well, it
hard
just
to
means
play.
You have to press
It'll
all
be
the
even
buttons
harder.
faster.
Yeah, it'll be even harder to have a good rotation. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just means you'll do more damage though.
it'll just make the
No.
3 people in the game who are good enough to play it even better. And then-
Yeah. Skill cap is high, but skill floor is way too high.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue really with NG. It's not that it's bad. It's just that to correctly execute it,
Just not
you
best
have to
at.
have you have to have loads of fingers to make it to get the work done. That's a bit of a problem. I don't know. I don't know what you can really do about
Okay.
that.
More questions.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
have power damage and condition damage. We also need a third type of damage to come to. Oh, okay, this is a troll. Okay. Well, I mean,
Ascalonian Monk hits you for 80,000 damage using heal area.
We already have a third type of damage. Lifesteal.
would you prefer? Yes, lifesteal. We'll have a whole elite specialization based around lifesteal. Would you prefer a perfectly balanced raid meta or one that's frequently, like every balance patch, changing? Well, I mean, even what they're doing here, it doesn't really change too much. As such, I don't think.
I'll
And
take
this
the
is a
perfectly
pretty-
balanced one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
Because if they have like 3 bad balance patches in a row, that's all it would take to like kill the game. Like, and I mean balance patches that are bad. Like,
I mean, I
Would
want
you
both,
consider
actually.
would you consider this patch a bad balance patch?
We don't know yet.
I'll reserve judgment till I see the buffs that
Bad
other
mash.
classes are getting.
Yeah, I mean it's impossible not to have a constantly changing meta because there's going to be every 2-3 years there's probably going to be expansions coming out, and although it would be great if those expansions brought with them a perfectly balanced meta on top of that.
Yeah, good luck with that. For me, it doesn't bother me if the meta changes at an alarming rate, if it changes constantly, because changing your gear, swapping stats around isn't really that bad, as long as when you make those changes, you don't omit classes from the raid itself or from the meta itself. You know, I would much rather have an even balance constantly, maybe not constantly, but I would rather have an even balance no matter what they do, rather than changing one class that invalidates 2 or 3 other classes. That's more bothersome and annoying to me, or having changes in other game modes that then invalidate your composition and balance in an entirely different game mode. And that's what we often see happen within the last, well, probably since the game launched, but within the last year or so, it's become even more apparent how bad split is needed.
There's a question here. Do you think they're nerfing Chrono because ArenaNet thinks raids need to be harder? Probably not. That's probably not the reason. The reason probably is, well, first of all, World vs. World is probably what instigated it, but the reason probably is that, like with Epidemic, like with Signal Inspiration, it's not good for a game to have one utility skill that's ridiculously good and way better than everything else in the game. So they're probably trying to bring that into line.
I don't think it can be that though, because they must have realized that you're just going to run the buffs that quickness brings is just so strong that you're gonna still want it, even if it means sacrificing a Revenant, for example.
Yeah.
So I think they were
absolutely.
actually just thinking about World versus World.
World versus World, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
And who knows what they were thinking with the Druid nerfs, because it's discouraging diversity, which it makes I don't know what they're going for.
And I just watched an episode of The Office where we're supposed to celebrate diversity. So what are you doing, ArenaNet? You're not celebrating it.
No.
This is the opposite of celebration.
There's a presidential candidate that has views similar to that too, I think.
Trump?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to real questions and
I've
answers.
been horrible on this podcast today. What's the difference between every other day, huh?
Well, I mean, every other day doesn't have a tea time on it. Only Sunday.
Some days are Mondays. Some are
Brazil, can you
Tuesdays.
tell us a question about the Yu-Gi-Oh meta? Yeah, I can. It's horrible and don't play the game.
Isn't that
Yu-Gi-Oh or
bad,
Guild Wars 2?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh is just, I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I've just given up.
You can't judge a balance patch before it's patched, you idiot at Mighty Teapot. Yeah, you
Wrong.
idiot.
Wrong.
So
I mean-
problem, Zarzar, Jar Jar, whatever. The problem
Is that you've named yourself after a prequel character that just ruined the entire franchise
No, his name is
single-handedly.
Zarzar, not Jar Jar.
All right.
The problem is the way they delivered the news. And we talked about this at the beginning of the stream, because the way they delivered it with incomplete information, whatever the reasoning was behind it, which the reasoning doesn't make a whole lot of sense for delivering the information anyway, but delivering incomplete information when you don't know the whole patch notes, which you're absolutely right about, leaves a sour taste in the mouths of the players who this affects, which it affects anybody in World vs. World or PvE, for that matter, even structured PvP to some extent. It leaves a bad taste in their mouths because they're left to speculate what this actually means for those classes. You're right, we don't have exact numbers. We don't even have a complete picture. But people are going to speculate and complain about it because it could mean this, that, or the other thing. And on top of that, we've had leaked notes a couple of weeks ago from Reddit, which kind of outlined exactly what is being said to an extent in this message delivered by ArenaNet. So if you couple those two things together, it creates this shitstorm that we're now in, that we're often in because of half-delivered information.
I think that's a very good response there. I don't have anything to say other than that. Seems pretty good. What can be done to elevate the skill ceiling for players in general? Open world tier is not engaging whatsoever, while raids, fractals, and even dungeons require some amount of skill. How can you transition the skill requirement better? You do well. You do that. Well, I mean,
you have to have motivation to get good. You have to want to get good.
Open world isn't
Like you
supposed
have
to be
to-
hard. Open world is supposed to be easy. That's the whole point.
Yes.
Look at the new maps, right? The Bloodstone Fen and Ember Bay. It's just kind of easy mode. It's pretty face roll, but there's nothing really wrong with that. And I think you can argue that fractals are, I guess, kind of a good tool for to transition people, especially with the Bloomhunger stuff. They're actually adding
they're
a bunch of
getting used
mechanics.
They're making people get used to events like the escort, or the Spirit Run, where they're just time sinks for no reason. That's what Bloomhunger's getting people ready for. Survive the Spirit Onslaught.
Yeah, but he actually does
it's a-
things. At least he actually does things. And
He has mechanics, but then you just got this, like, for some reason, there's all of the hard stuff seems to have, like, just useless time sink for whatever reason. It's to get people that aren't as skilled to panic and feel rushed and underwhelmed or overwhelmed because it goes on for so long. But when you do it like 4 times and get good at it, it's just a waste. Like it just wastes time.
Right.
But
I guess it's better than nothing, though. It's better than nothing, right?
no, it's worse than nothing.
It's worse than nothing. All right.
Nothing.
Okay, Brazil a little bit negative there.
I don't
You
know.
ain't-
I've been running the dungeons with some new friends new to the game, and I just ran fractals with friends who are new to the game, and I think starting off it's not bad. I think starting off doing these fractals and having these small introductory mechanics is good for them because they learn how to deal with mechanics.
Yeah.
But you might be right. Like it's just kind of a little bit of a waste of time at higher levels.
That's not necessarily correct. It's a waste of time when you figure out how to deal with it.
But yeah,
It's there. It's
I
there
tend
to
to
be
get
like
around
a. It's designed to be there for like a one-off experience, or something that you do like every now and then, and it's supposed to overwhelm you. Like the Graveling burrows in AC Path 3. I don't think they ever expected people to kill burrows in less than a second. And they expected them to build up and overwhelm you, and you have to split people off and defend the Essence Collectors. And the Wraiths at Grinth and Path 4. They didn't ever think that people would figure out that you can reflect their lifesteal and pull them around corners and just kill them as they're spawning. Like they thought that, you know, they just one shot and like overwhelm people. That doesn't happen. Like the Twisted Castle is supposed to be this really cool first time experience, but then after you do it after that, it's just a chore. And like I think it's problematic that they design encounters like this that are designed just around doing it one time and feeling overwhelmed.
I think you're right about that with
Yes, you're correct.
With
I am.
with fractals, you're definitely right about that because fractals are designed to be repeated over and over and over and over again. I mean, for dungeons, they don't necessarily have to be repeated over and over again. So, like, you could have that kind of
Not
mechanic
now.
in dungeons. Not now. They used to be, I suppose.
So if a Raw Path 4 is not meant to be repeated over and over and over again, don't give it a recipe as a random drop from the last boss that's worth a lot of money. Bloodstone Fragment. It's an amulet. The soldier stats used to be worth a whole lot. I did that path like 3 times a day to try to get it, and I never got one.
GG. And now you don't need it.
Yep, and every single day I wasted, you know, an hour of my time fighting Wraiths at Grinth, just pulling them into a hole and killing them.
We had a couple of questions that we missed.
I get a Minstrel Chrono 2 weeks ago. What are your new idea for builds if Signet of Inspiration is nerfed to a point that it can't be used?
Chaos, Illusions, and Chronomancer, and then probably want to take a particular rune.
I don't think the gear's invalidated whatsoever because you still will need a tank. So, I mean,
Correct.
you can just have one Mesmer that's slightly tougher than the other.
And the other one that does slightly more
See,
damage.
this is the best of both worlds. ArenaNet of geniuses. I get to play Minstrel Chrono,
I don't
and
think you...
Suki and Finnick get to play Berserkers. Everyone's happy.
And I might get to play Condi Chrono.
I think you probably...
No.
No.
Not till the X pack, according to Reddit.
You got a great comment thread in your video, Boots.
Me?
Oh, with Luigi?
Yeah. From TT. That's a dank meme right there. That's a great argument. Now, I think if if Signet is so bad that you wouldn't even take Inspiration, which I think you probably still will. Actually, I think Inspiration is still going to be pretty
Nope.
good. I don't think you run Minstrel Gear, honestly, because
Wrong.
I think so much of the healing comes from giving everyone regen. I'm not sure if you would run Minstrel Gear. I guess just run. I'd probably say just go Commanders instead.
I asked this before, but y'all missed it, I reckon. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is horizontal progression and build diversity? Another slightly redundant sub-question. Would you be willing to sacrifice build diversity for the sake of balance?
No.
So which question are you answering right now? The
Yeah,
last
wait.
Last one.
Okay. So you would not sacrifice build diversity
I want to be able to play any possible conceivable build in the game.
and for it to be viable?
What?
Yes.
Okay, I agree with you there. That's what I want too.
I want to be able to play fall damage terror necromancer. And I want it to be good. I want to be able to glide onto Gorseval after taking an updraft and just fear the minions away.
I think Nemesis has some videos for you already.
Yeah.
I want to be able to play the immovable object and literally go into a dungeon and become the corner so my party just stacks on me.
Everybody stack on Brazil.
It's impossible to have that, but sacrifice build diversity for the sake of balance.
This is a good question, and thank you for asking it.
Don't we?
Because this is what ArenaNet wanted. They wanted you to be able to play anything and go in and do Ascalonian Catacombs and kill the Howling King. And they wanted Ghost Eater to be a nice, fun, neat encounter where, oh, hey, look, it's Ghostbusters. This is cool. They wanted stuff like that to happen. And by doing that, they created something where just high damage trivializes everything because it was designed for just anyone to go in and do, and it wasn't designed for the type of people who play the game. And so those people came along. There are guilds. We have someone from one of those guilds on the stream today. And there are guilds that just go through and destroy content and just eat it alive, and you have people 3-manning Veil Guardian. And then the devs got mad about all of that, and they didn't like it. And it hurts their game, and they don't want it, and it's exploitive behavior. And, like, to a degree, it feels insulting almost, because it feels like, okay, we want everybody to have fun and play how they want. Oh, except for these people. We can't have that. We have to nerf their damage. And they can't have fun doing what they want. They can't speedrun. We can't have speedrunning in our game. We don't like that. And I have a big problem with that. I'm sorry for the monologue. If someone else wants to go.
Well, okay, so to answer the first part of this question, on a scale from 1 to 10...
Shut up. Let Nike talk.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I guess I'll talk then. As far as diversity goes, I would rather have every profession have one good build than certain professions have multiple and others have none, which is where we used to be. And I think we are currently, until Tuesday, are in a position where every profession has at least one good build that you can run, or sometimes two in raids. So I think we had what I would consider a good meta, but it remains to be seen if there'll be professions that even have one good build afterwards. Who knows?
I'm sorry, Boots. I feel really bad about it. I don't know if he's role-playing as hurt or if he actually is.
No, he actually is.
He's reading his cell phone.
Yeah. He's not interested anymore. It's over. Brazil is toxic.
So
Brazil,
are we still answering that question?
Yeah, but I mean, Brazil's joined. He's a toxic, delusional elitist now. He's a podcast elite. Yeah, I mean, I've suspected it for a while now, but
oh man,
I don't know. I think.
You got anything, Boots?
I do like the meta right now. Hopefully, it can remain relatively intact. Maybe if they buff some of the other quickness stuff that Mesmer can bring, and just maybe make up for the Signet, we can keep it as it is. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe they, but I don't know. Maybe they buff
Is
Time
Boots
Warp.
back?
Maybe they buff Well of Action. I don't know. Some things can happen that they can make to keep this intact. But would I sacrifice balance for build diversity? To me, that concept is kind of the same, right? If things are balanced, you will have
you will
part
have
and parcel that
diversity.
you will have diversity if the game is balanced.
Some extent, yeah.
Not to the full extent where literally everything in the game is good, right? There's always going to be some stuff that's just trash. But I think if you have balance, you will kind of have build diversity anyway. Yeah, what does Boots think? Or is he just can't even talk anymore out of
I could
trauma?
talk. For the first part of the question, the second part is definitely the more important one, because on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is horizontal progression and build diversity? It's, horizontal progression is sort of like not part of the conversation compared to the rest. Build diversity, I find, is a very important thing. I think that balance is the most important thing. As a guy who only makes bad builds, like build diversity is so important to me. And when they went into the new specialization format, it reduced a lot of my possible build diversity, but made a lot more, some builds more viable. And I think with Signet of Inspiration being changed, if it does get changed the way we think it's getting changed, and possibly Epidemic getting changed the same way, it could mean, it would be possibly build diversity going down and balance going up. But I think that might be a necessary evil for the fact that they are going to be having more elite specializations coming out. Because if you bring the amount of viable builds down now and then completely screw up the meta when the next expansion comes out and lets things come where they lie later, and see how that works out. There's gonna when there's everybody has a new elite specialization, there's gonna be a lot more possible builds coming out. So build diversity will shoot way up when the next expansion comes out. We'll have to see how balance works out afterwards, but it's possible that this is not such a bad thing if the Signet of Inspiration thing happens. And yes, Heffen, you did. I completely forgot what I was trying to say halfway through what I was saying.
No,
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
What you're saying does make sense, but I think relying on the expansion to fix the game.
Oh God.
Oof.
I know.
Oh.
It's not.
It's gonna be power creep. It's going to be power.
It's gonna be
guaranteed.
power creep. I know. It's just I'm trying to see this game on the long term right now, and it's like we have all these builds, and this is the meta right now, and we're complaining that some builds are going to be nerfed to the ground because of certain changes in a possible what's it called, patch coming up. And then, but in reality, it's like it's gonna be like this throughout the entire game. There's gonna be more builds that are useful in certain parts of the year, and less builds later on. And then I don't know. It's a tough thing to balance, especially when they know more things are going to be coming out in the next year, probably.
Pisium's had a question. I mained Rev since it came out. How vital is it going to be in all game modes? So you're basically just like me. I mean, obviously, wait for the patch notes to actually see how it's going to balance and what's going to change. It might be in for a bad time in raids. I don't know. We'll see. Might be a little bit disappointing. Like to be for me, it doesn't matter. I don't care too much what they change as long as they leave a viability for each class in the content. And I don't mean that hey, here's a build that you could play. No, I mean an actual viable build that fits or is on par with the other builds being used. That's just, that's kind of difficult, I guess, but that's what worries me the most about changes that we're seeing or that we're probably going to get come Tuesday-ish.
What are we going to talk like viable builds? What range of damage can we say something is still viable? 10% off the highest? What?
Well,
all right.
Look at the difference between an LE DPS and Berserker Druid. LE is probably close to double the DPS of Berserker Druid.
Mm-hmm. But
So
Berserker Druid brings
the buffs that it brings make up for it. So I guess you can't look at it. You can't look at it entirely just how much DPS could you achieve and still have it be viable.
Let's think about it in terms of this, okay? So to do Gorseval, to no updraft Gorseval, you need 96k DPS. Well, there's some sort of relation there. QT with their 5-man no updraft Gorseval, they said they needed 96k DPS to be able to pull it off. So if we put 10 people into the mix there, and we just assume that you need 96% DPS to be able, 96k DPS to be able to do that, that's about 10k DPS per person, yeah? You only need 7 to 10k DPS per person to actually be able to kill Gorseval, before the enrage. And people can't do that. 7k DPS is when I'm soloing a Rob by myself on a thief. I do 7k DPS. That's with no profession modifiers. That's with only Fury, no might. That's with it's people can't pull that off, and I don't understand why. But realistically, you could just take in a build that can do 10k DPS with every buff in the game, and you should be able to theoretically do it. And that doesn't happen. Because there's some disconnect with skill and paying attention and getting overwhelmed and whatever the case is. And then you have people that go in with 30k DPS per person and they just smoke it. And it's just trivial.
Mm-hmm. You can do
you have
green
QT again. QT phases keep construct with 2 stacks. People can't even phase him with 5. With the same classes and same gear and same builds.
A lot. That's fun.
Yeah,
it's good.
I know.
It's good.
It's just the problem, and I don't want to say a problem because it sounds mean, and I don't mean it to sound like that. I don't mean to sound arrogant. I don't mean to sound like I'm speaking down to people. I really don't. But the problem is just time investment on the player's part, and it's just if you want to achieve a particular level of skill, you can do it. It's doable. I spent 2.5 hours in the Special Forces training area yesterday with AK. He's a great guy. He streams. He hangs out with Team Talima and Aurora Peachy and stuff. And I worked with him specifically to be able to help him pull off stuff on Chrono because he plays with his default keybinds, and changing those would probably be detrimental to him because you have to relearn it. But he recognizes his problems. He knows when he does something wrong. He tells me what he's done wrong, and he's willing to practice. He was willing to spend 2.5 hours with me in there practicing yesterday, and I was able to help him think what he should prioritize to be able to pull off quickness and spread around on Chrono. And we got through it, and we did it, and by the end of it, he was good. And I was happy, and he was happy, and most people don't ever get that far. And so, I don't know.
At what point would we say the perfect balance is met between build diversity and balance? Would it be...
You have to balance player skill.
That's impossible.
Correct. So
When
that's
you
the
have
problem.
when you have one of every class in a raid and then one repeat,
I would say
that would be
balance.
perfect.
I would
Would
say
it be though?
I would say the balance would actually be that there would be a fight for each profession where that profession is optimal. At least one fight each, where you always want to have one of each profession, and that includes saying, yeah, you always want Chrono. So like on Gorseval, even if Ellie is not as good at bursting down the spirits in the split phase, you still want it because it can lava font the orbs. So it's still really, really good there. For Necromancer, even when you see the try hard kills, you use Necromancers to help deal with the conditions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the future, there is a fight that is designed such that Engineer makes the fight really, really easy, or something, or it really helps to have an Engineer in particular over other professions.
I think that would be good, but then what about you would just lose that guy for all the other fights? Is that the idea?
Well, it just means that it doesn't have to be amazing on every single fight. It's just there is at least a few fights,
Okay.
a few
So that
encounters
is
in the
something
game.
that I think would be good, but I don't think that's what a perfectly balanced situation would be. That's just an additional good thing to have. I think a perfectly balanced thing with good viable other builds would be if every class had one power build DPS, one Condi build DPS that were within that where all the DPS builds were within 10% of each other, and also one support build that's viable in some way.
I
It
don't
would
think
be nice.
We don't have that now. We are not going to have
No.
that after this patch. But that would be the perfect situation.
Yeah, buff warrior axe by like 25%.
I agree.
Have a DPS warrior build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Would that really affect any other game modes? Not really. It'd make,
No.
it'd make Ajax
No,
really
because you
happy.
can still dodge eviscerate, and the people that can't dodge eviscerate will complain, but they should not be listened to. I was
suppose.
playing Thief, and the stances are unbeatable on Thief, and he one-shots me
Unbeatable.
with eviscerate. No, you're bad. Your opinion does not count.
Got a question from Roasted Chestnuts. Don't you think that all classes have a spot in raids, even if they don't bring something specific to the group, if QT can 3-man Veil Guardian?
Well, the thing is, QT. Yeah, I guess so. QT could just carry you.
I mean, it wasn't QT, but I'm not doubting that they can.
Oh,
but it was
right.
SC. It was
it was
Snow Crows.
Let's see. Snow
So
Crows could just,
yeah.
Snow Crows could just carry you. That could be the new meta.
Yeah.
Just have 3 Snow Crows with you at all
So,
times.
You can play anything you want if you have QT or Snow Crows
3
or
Snow
something
Crows
like that
members,
carry you.
then you're good.
But just like with the salt raids, sometimes the more people you have, the harder it is.
Ain't that the truth?
Well, we're there. I mean, we are there now. I mean, every profession. I guess arguably NG's the odd man out, but still, all 9 professions are perfectly acceptable in raids. And I think if more people gave Power NG a try, I think they would see that the DPS is pretty comparable to, like, say, Guardian or Dagger Warhorn Ellie, and it has its own set of utility that it brings. So, but I think people just aren't willing to give that build a chance for whatever reason. It's easy to play. They probably should.
I would say, okay, you know what? I would be okay with the next patch, the balance patch happening, if it makes Condi Guardian viable.
Condi Guardian.
See, they can't do that without splitting PvP, because then it
Oh,
would be
yeah.
obnoxious in
That's
PvP.
true. Good point.
See, Dragon Hunter is the Pug Slayer. And it will be even like it will just be like it'll just throw pugs in the trash because you just have traps and burn and just like they can't get away from it.
I mean, yeah.
It's like Trendamere.
But-
Like people can't figure out that like
Yeah, but
his
they-
taunt and Undying Rage. They don't know how to work around it.
They don't. Yeah, ArenaNet to a certain extent, they have to really not care about what the scrubs say, though.
Yes, they absolutely have to not care about what the scrubs say, and that sounds elitist, and I sound like a madman, but it doesn't matter because it's true.
Yeah, I mean, they have to design the balance around the
You
actual
can't
state.
listen. You can't listen to the guy that posts the Reddit thread about the hammer boss and the personal story that's too hard. You cannot take that seriously.
Yes, you can. It's too hard. Nerf him.
What about the guy who made the
Necros.
post saying that Boon Share is too powerful in World v World, so we gotta ruin PvE?
No!
They listen to that guy.
Yeah. Got another question. Apparently asked before. Since Kanji, hold on, damn it, chat. Since Kanji shines best for long encounters, would power be beneficial for raid encounters where you have to fight chunks of the boss at a time? So multiple little health bars instead of one giant one. So if you
all
split
Kandis
the
get
encounter into smaller skirmishes, would power be viable again?
It
was already viable.
Pat was already good, yeah.
that was very
I don't.
valuable.
That assumes things that aren't correct. I think, like Condi aren't necessarily better in longer fights. Like there's kind of a ramp up time, but like you can still burst with Condis really hard, and like bosses already have phases where they're split up and you have to fight them. Like Veil Guardian splits. Gorzaval has phases. Sabbatha goes up to the platforms. Slothosaur goes invulnerable and people take mashes. The Bandit Trio bosses don't spawn at the same time. And like I'm not really sure where that question was going.
I think that
I think there's just a little bit of a misconception there on how powerful Kandi is in long
Kandi
encounters.
actually isn't as powerful in many respects as power right now.
Yeah, because conditions can't crit.
Yeah, and
Like conditions
what-
crit easy.
in the meta, what Kandi builds are there? There's
that would
there's
be
the Druid.
Warrior and sometimes Necro.
That's about it.
NG.
Nope.
Yeah.
Why not? It's good. Condi Mesmer on Matthias. Yeah, value. Because think about it, you know, the phantasms, they don't care about any of the mechanics. They just stand there and just do whatever. It's easy. Oh,
All right, guys, here we go. Zosek says,
Yeah, this
you
is
guys are debating on whether
Yeah.
this profession is good or not, yet you
Me.
are the ones who make the meta for PvE.
Who
You
said
put
that?
videos on
No,
YouTube
no, no.
for us to watch.
No. Don't go after this guy, because this is one of the things I think is just horrible about the community, right? Because if they see QT doing their 420 timer Gorsel, they go, oh shit, I guess we better run that exact comp every time we kill Gorsel, otherwise it ain't gonna work. It's just
Here's the thing. No. All right. I'm triggered. Sorry. Here's the thing. To be able to type that comment, you have this blob of
No,
pink goo in your head that
Fully
has
Brazil.
wrinkles on it called a brain. So to even be able to come to Twitch and type a comment that's mad at us, you had to have some level of critical thinking. Now just apply that to the game and go have fun and play it. And if you want to make videos and you want to do stuff, do it, because it didn't just happen. We didn't just appear here. We had to think about it
It's
too.
become a copy pasta.
what's happening? I mean, to a
love
certain
it.
extent, the meta is, it does exist because of people have figured stuff out, and that doesn't mean that it's actually optimal. There could be this, if you tweak this, it's even better, and people just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And yeah, exactly. That's how the meta is forged.
Just
to be
take a
honest-
look at when we started rating what the compositions look like to now. And sure, there have been some balance patches that changed a little bit, but really it was just a lot of fine tuning those compositions to be where they are today.
Yeah, remember there
so
were Reddit posts saying that Ellie's useless in raids.
Yeah.
If you go back and look on Reddit
Well-
when raids launched, they were posts saying my Ellie's useless in raids. Fuck you, ANet. And you're like, wow. Looking back, that's just
Yeah, just
Hard.
imagine if raids were 6 warriors, 2 guardians, and 2 mesmers, huh? Wouldn't that be something?
Mm-hmm. Look, Zosek, I'm with you though. I mean, I do put videos on YouTube and try to make you guys follow that as meta, but it doesn't work.
Never
You guys-
works.
Do you think for a second that all of just everyone adopted Minstrel's Chronomancer whenever I made a video about it? No, because people make videos about different things and different people interpret different things differently. That's why you saw something and you're wrong. So we came to a different conclusion. So,
Well, good ideas
just a non-point.
will float to the top, and bad ideas will go away. That's just how it works. So,
They work out over time.
and I think people that make build videos, I know me, it's not like you're creating the meta. You're just describing what is. You're not saying, well, I think this is the best, therefore everyone copies it, therefore it's the meta. It's like, no, this is already the meta, and I'm just bringing it to people that might not be aware of it.
Right.
I think in your case, Nike, you're actually making build videos so you can play the market.
But
Yeah.
it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad to promote the fact that it is possible to do these raids with one of every class, but it's just not as good as doing it the right way. Like,
Well, and the
think-
really interesting thing to take away from all of this is the conversation that we had here today is the conversation that happens in SC and QT and DNT and ES and all those other guilds out there, Salt and so forth.
I don't know about ES.
All the guilds out there who raid have these conversations amongst themselves on what works and what doesn't work. And then the meta is formed from not only those discussions, but then posting the results of those discussions for others to look at and then make tweaks on.
I do think that it is a little bit. I think what people see does affect what they actually use, though. If you know, a bunch of people will have gone and made a minstrel chrono after Brazil made his minstrel chrono video. I think it will be incredibly naive to suggest that it didn't actually influence people when you make build videos, and when
Right.
people see these speed kills, these record runs, all this sort of thing. I think people do think, oh well, let's just run this then, easy. But the actual only problem I have with the Zozek statement is the part where he says, if it will work for you, it will work for us. And believe me, that is not true. If you try and execute, well, if I was to do a random group insult and try and execute QT strats, we would never kill anything on certain bosses, especially Zera. Believe me, I've tried. So you have to be a little bit careful there. I mean, there are a lot of things happening within try-hard guilds that create this environment where all of their builds can function perfectly, and they're very good at creating this environment. This goes for all the high-end guilds as well, right? And you do have to bear in mind that to make everything work correctly, you do have to be very good at the game. And you don't want to just go in too hard and too fast. Don't just start running the squishiest comp possible to maximize your amazing DPS, because in a lot of situations there are just Ellies who are just a DPS loss, and I see this on Matthias a lot as well. Just you spent they're just on the floor, they're completely squashed, they're just useless, and they'd just be better off playing something a little bit tankier, right? I mean, yeah. We tried Mystic Builds Veil Guardian once, yeah, we did.
I will say one of the things I don't think that we see a lot of is where Teapot is saying these safer builds, these safer compositions, that it's still possible to succeed at the raids while you're not maybe maximizing your DPS or maximizing the best composition. And I don't think you see a whole lot of content along those lines, because those who make content generally don't need to play a safer and I know that sounds super elitist, but they don't need to play a safer composition because they're very good at the classes that they play. So I don't think you see a whole ton of content geared towards players that need or would benefit better from a safer composition. However, if you watch Teapot stream every single week, maybe 6 or 7 out of the 20 raids he does a week, sometimes you need to run a composition that carries a little bit harder than others. So I think that's where you kind of see that sort of stuff shine.
All this to say is that it's okay for people to prefer the stronger builds that do more damage or that fit into the meta better, but it's not okay to be elitist about it. And because there's always going to be someone who's better than you, unless you are Nike. And
No, I'm bad.
and there's always going to be someone who's better than you. So, like, yes, you have the perfect build, but you're not playing it perfectly. Or maybe you don't have the perfect build. Maybe it's a little tougher in some areas, and maybe it gives a little more utility in some areas. But maybe you play it really, really well, and you shouldn't be judged for that. But I don't know. Yeah, yes, it became a copy pasta.
A lot of
So
things
happy.
become a copy pasta here. But I think that's a pretty good place to end. We've been going for quite a while. Lots of discussions happening, and I guess.
questions today,
Well, I mean,
guys.
we've got some new faces here, and the first of which is Brazil. He doesn't have a face anymore.
Yep.
So maybe you'd like to, describe your new face and tell us
You cut it off.
what you're doing
Cut
on
his
this
face
show.
off.
You cut your own face off.
That's correct. I cut my face off. I was looking at my computer screen when I got home, and I pulled up the forums and saw a forum post about Signet of Inspiration changes, and my face just fell off.
Where can we find you, Brazil?
So, if
Where?
you want to find me, you rub the magic duck to summon haiku spirits. Haiku spirits. There you go.
All right. And then our amazing special guest is, of course,
MMO
Ni-
Inks.
Nike Inks. Nike_Inks_DNT. Thank you so much for coming on to discuss the Balance Apocalypse. What do you do, and where can we find you on various media outlets?
Just go to my Twitch, twitch.tv/Nike_DNT, and everything linked on there. So, one-stop shop.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I don't really want to allow Boots to talk, so we won't do that. We'll do
That
Inks
makes
next.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow. Poor Boots. Poor Boots.
It's okay. I'm gone for 3 weeks. I get a break. It's gonna be great.
Boots is moving to Japan,
bullying,
everybody.
just to escape tea time. Don't have to get bullied by Brazil anymore.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna be
I'm
good.
gonna
huh?
miss you, man.
I know.
I
I
like
miss
you,
you
Boo.
too, Brazil. I like you too.
It's not gonna.
Not.
be
I
the
don't like
same,
Inks
man.
or Teapot though.
You know what?
Oh.
I'm really gonna miss Boots because now Brazil's gonna make fun of me more. So
Yeah, this is true. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So you can find me at MMO Inks. The YouTube content should start rolling out again this week. Twitch should be starting up within the next week or so again. I've had a lot of real life shit going on and computer problems and all kinds of other stuff. Brazil's been helping me out a lot with some art assets, him and Levy. So all that stuff looks like the rebranding is going good, and all that content should start to roll out again. Pretty excited for Halloween. Can't wait to see what the balance patch actually does to Revenant, unfortunately, or hopefully fortunately. That's about all I have to say.
Well, that's pretty good. In that case, we'll move on to our last and best Tea Time member. Yes, it is World of Enders, aka
That's me.
Bootspa. Boots the Weeb. What?
Yeah, Bootsy Wootsy.
Bootsy Wootsy, the best warrior in the game.
So you can find me at World of Enders on YouTube. I am sitting on a lot of stuff that I'm supposed to be editing. I don't think I'm going to get it all done before I leave on my honeymoon to Japan
Whoa.
for 3 weeks. So yeah, I'll see you guys in 3 weeks. I'll try to put some stuff out so it won't happen. It's not going to happen.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. It's not going to happen.